Judy? Middle? People from Middlesex Street aren't here right now anyways, are they?
I'm sorry?
The people for the charter school aren't here now, are they?
Just the engineer, Brian Goodwin.
Oh, he's the only one here?
Yes.
He's the only one here?
Yeah.
I got you, so he's here?
So
Okay,
and
is that
it's
him
just-
over there?
Yes.
In the yellow shirt? Okay, all right, so nobody else is coming from here? Okay,
Not as far as I know, because it's just the landscape.
okay, all right.
Did we review?
Okay, and we got nothing from West Adams Street yet, except for inviting to request a continuance, right? To September, what date was it? The 9, yeah.
I think we got Thursday.
Yeah, I think I wrote it up,
Second Thursday.
yeah,
Oh, yeah, you got the holiday.
yeah, right,
This is 2 Thursday meetings.
yeah, okay, all right. I think it was September 21, I actually lost my phone at home, do you have, it was the 21st, is that the Thursday meeting? I think he's at the 21.
So September, so it would be September 10th or September 24th, right? Because we're
Yeah.
gonna do 2 Thursday meetings? Oh, we're gonna do a Thursday and a Monday.
I think it's 2 Thursdays she had down.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would be the September
10th
11th.
and the
okay.
24th, yeah.
Good evening. We're going to be starting up shortly. And welcome to the Lowell Planning Board for August 17th, 2015. We do have 3 public hearings this evening and a old discussion matter as well as a pre-application matter. Is anybody here for West Adams Street? I know we received a letter to request to rezone the public hearing on West Adams Street. Okay, we'll hold off on that for 1 second. Who's here for the site plan on 1857 Middlesex Street? Okay, good. What, is that just the landscaping plan? Okay. How long will your presentation be? 30 seconds. All right. I'll make a motion that we waive the agenda and take this out of order, if there's no objections.
I'll second the motion.
Having none, we'll start with 1857 Middlesex Street. The planning board will hear a request from Commonwealth LLC approval of the proposed landscaping plan.
Hancock Associates, representing Commonwealth LLC. We're here tonight for approval, or seeking approval of a landscape plan. It was originally item 10 and 11 on the original decision that we work with DPD staff to develop this landscape plan. Ms. Joseph and Ms. Time and my office had quite a bit of back and forth, and we had come up with this plan here. Essentially, what we're doing is we're reseeding the area of the ILSF, the isolated land subject to flooding, that was needed to be regraded for compensatory storage as part of the Conservation Commission. There's a small walk that's associated with that to allow the students to go down and kind of visit that area of the site. Additionally, there are 24 shade trees distributed throughout the paved areas, and then specifically there's 3 landscaped areas along the front of the property. James Emanuel is our registered landscape architect who had developed this planting plan. With that said, we didn't receive any comments from DPD staff, and like I said, we have gone back and forth a number of times to work with them to come up with this plan. So with that said, I'll be happy to take any questions.
Judy, does staff have any comments that indicate that he said he worked with staff on the landscaping plan?
We did work pretty closely with Brian on the landscape plan, and there were some specific requirements regarding the sidewalk, which they did. They repaired the sidewalk, the replanting area that he mentioned in the wetlands, to show the size and location of the trees, which they have provided that detail. So they have answered all of our issues.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else here this evening want to speak in regards to the landscaping plan? Anybody want to be heard? Anybody want to be heard? Hearing none. Any of the board members have any questions at this time?
Mr. Chairman, I just have a question.
Sure, Mr. Fischett?
To Judy. Judy, does this also require the approval of the Conservation Commission as well, Conservation Board,
They have already received Conservation Commission approval.
on this particular?
I believe,
plan?
yes, I believe so. yeah.
Okay, all right, that's fine, thank you.
Any other questions, Jerry? No? Mr. Lockhart?
The plan that you're showing doesn't have the detail of where your trees are going or anything, does it? Or
It does, actually. So
it's hard to see. So.
yeah, so the shade trees are distributed throughout the parking lot, along the main aisle, and then on the exterior. So it shows the location of all the proposed trees. Additionally, there are 3 kind of blown-up detailed areas that are located across the front of the building, where shrubs and native plantings will be also installed.
Hard to see from here. And if that's acceptable to the staff, then, yeah, it's fine with me.
Dick, any questions or comments? None? Okay, Joe?
Yeah, I had one fairly minor issue. The most important purpose of the shade trees is to make sure that we get as much canopy as we can over the paved area, especially the impervious surface area. There were just a couple of locations, one of which is near that near the bike rack where you have that almost cul-de-sac looking round thing, where I think like a minor relocation of some trees by a few feet could get a little more shade over the pavement.
You're talking about the
Yes.
physically around that circled island. So that's one of the entrances to the school. There's big windows there. I'd hesitate to put a tree right next to the building. I mean, you're only talking about 6 feet of green space.
Right.
We do have shade trees all along the kind of front playground area in here. So there's 4 right there. And then there's just not a lot of room right in that corner. We have a tree right there. I mean, essentially, I went back and forth with Swathi a number of times, and we kind of determined this is the best way to get shade over those impervious areas so that we're not creating heat island effect. So all these trees are less than 50 feet apart.
I'm not exactly tree species guy. Are those actually that, what you have in between that, that round area and the building, are any of those trees or are those all shrubs?
These in here? So
The one by the bike rack in
by
particular?
the bike rack, those are all shrubs.
Those are all shrubs? Okay,
Correct.
that wouldn't really do much good to spread them out of, okay, all right, then I don't have any objections.
Bob, any questions,
Just
comments?
one question to Judy. The DPD is satisfied with that plan?
Yes, absolutely, yes.
Okay, then I have no questions.
And the Concom is satisfied with their plantings for the wetland area?
Yes,
Yes.
yeah.
I have no questions either. I think the landscaping plan looks fine, in my opinion, so I'll make a motion to approve the landscaping plan as presented.
I'll second the motion.
Motion made in the second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes as indicated. So therefore, the motion carries. Good luck. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, we have the continuance from the last meeting for 339 Mammoth Road. This is a site plan review and a special permit. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Steve O Nominee Trust seeking site plan review approval for redevelopment located at the above address. The proposal consists of demolition of an existing residential building and the construction of a mixed-use building to contain 2-unit commercial units for use as a variety store and a retail office space and 4 condominium units. With 16 off-street parking spaces, the applicant is seeking site plan review and special permit approval under sections 11.3, 11.4, and 12.1D of the City of Lowell zoning ordinance. The parcel comprises approximately 17,455 square feet of land and is located in the traditional mixed-use zoning district. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm Attorney James Hall, 14 Pentucket Avenue, Lowell, Massachusetts. I represent Steve O'Neill, who's the trustee of the Steve O Trust. With me is Mr. Peter Karp, our architect, and Ronnie Close, who I think the board is familiar with from the previous meeting, our engineer. They're both here to answer any specific questions that you have, and I think there's some specific legal questions that you might have, and I'll do that. But at the outset, I'd like to introduce Mr. Karp so that he could explain the plan to the board. Mr. Karp?
Thank you. Peter Carb, architect. After the last meeting, I was instructed to make the building renderings of the community more residential looking. So with minor adjustments, came up with a
Sure. Excuse me, sir, the microphone?
basic, what?
Use the microphone, please.
With some gables facing the street, which are like the houses next door and across the street with the stairs up to the porch on the front. This is the Hamlet Road view and the East Meadow Road view. So the roofs appear gabled and sloped. The heights are equivalent to the houses around the site. That's it.
Wait, what about the heights?
The heights are exactly the same as the house that is there that's being removed and the house next door.
Anything else, sir?
Nope.
Okay.
Questions?
Not yet. Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, I don't know if the board has any questions of Mr. Close that remain unanswered, or should he go right through his whole presentation?
Sure, I mean, we did receive some comment from the August 11th, and then I know we received some updated stuff today about the intersection. So I don't know which way you want to start. If you want to go over, we have a set of comments that was 1 through 6 as resulted from the last meeting, and then we had 7 through 9, which were existent from the July 1st comments. So either way, I know we received different plans, I know we got different emails saying so many things have been changed, some haven't been changed, but for the public, can you tell us the things that have been changed since the last meeting?
All right, I guess Mr. Close will attempt to answer those questions.
Sure.
For the record, Ron Close, 55 Island Pond Road, Drake, Mass., registered professional engineer, Massachusetts. Last meeting, a little confusion as to which plan was being presented. What we had attempted to do is update the plan as the comments came in from your different departments, and I know they're busy, and by the time we got through with putting that together, the comments, addressing the plans, and/or a field survey to address the issue of the mast and the lights because of the layouts from 1886, 1893, I believe it was, city map sheets and other information. We were only able to put them in that day. At that time, I had no intentions of really reviewing the new plan, except to tell the board, if it was asked of us, that we had been addressing those issues and then presented a plan to the board. Somehow, I think there was a mix-up on what was being done. Anyways, with that in mind, I moved forward and put together a cover letter, which I had, gave to Mr. O'Neill for his reference only. And basically, what I'm saying is for this project at 339 Mammoth Road, plan sheets 1 through 4 have been updated based on planning board meeting of 7/20/15. The most recent memorandum that I had at this time was 8/06/15, and and a wastewater management of 80515. That is letters from these different departments. There's now 3 new supplemental plans. You'll see in your a list of sheets, plans 1 through 4 of the site, and plans 1, 2, 3 are supplemental in order to address some of the other issues. The plans were just getting too busy, meaning that a lot of the information would have been misconstrued because you couldn't really make it out. Okay, so sheets 1 through 4 all have been revised. Descriptions and rough notes have been included for your review. That is on the plans. There are some notes added in order to address much of this. We'll start with sheet 1. The removal of retaining walls for was accomplished by holding the existing grades outside the parking lot in the proposed building. In other words, we graded back into to the existing rather than try to keep that a level site. We just regraded it to meet existing conditions. The mast and the base for the lights are shown on all the plans, by the way. We added a buffer zone. I believe it's on the northerly side of the lot, off of East Meadow Road, between the site and the abutter. In other words, we're going to try, it's called a save and thin buffer zone, meaning that we're going to try and save as many trees as possible of the existing, maybe remove the brush, dress it up, but no way do we want to move within that area if we have to, over and above the cleanup. Snow storage in the a larger dumpster pad has been added. That was a request to address through the planning department and I believe your waste and recycle department. New sidewalk areas have been enhanced. In other words, I tried to dress it up so that you people could see it better on the plans. On sheet 2, the notes were added addressing engineering concerns. Also a note on the, as an exit-only stairs to Mammoth Road. I believe that was a request from one of the departments. I'm not really sure if that was engineering or Department of Planning and Development or the board itself, but we added that as an exit only. Someone was concerned about them parking on Mammoth Road and entering that way, so Mr. O'Neill suggested that I change it, and I readily did. The architect design walls acts also as a retaining wall. What that means is the floor elevation versus the sidewalk elevation coming into the building off of East Meadow Road would be addressed with a revision, or I should say a design on the actual architect's plans, acting both as a retaining wall and a foundation. Spot grades were added throughout so you people could pick out exactly what was going on in the parking lot and on the lot. What that means is rather than just running contours across it, I actually put the location of spot grades that we showed in field. So you'll see that. There should be like a little X next to it with a elevation on the plans. Sidewalk detail was shown. We're talking sheet 2 now still. A sidewalk detail was shown. On that sidewalk detail, I also had what type of curbing it was, the VA4 curbing, as requested by engineering. So that was already there, but it may have been just missed because they didn't have that plan in hand at the time. On sheet 3, It's just, it's redundant. It's the same as sheet 4, but at a larger scale. I checked that. It's same, sheet 3 is the same as sheet 1, but on a larger scale. In other words, it goes from a 20 scale to a 10 scale, so that you can pick out some details better. And that was a request in the past by the planning department. And I can understand why it was getting, as I say, busy. A lot of detail on it. Sheet 4, similar to sheet 2 for the same reason. Enhancement, I gave you a 10 scale on that. Sheet 2 was 20 scale, sheet 4 was 10 scale. With that, I'll move over to some of the actual comments on the other presentations. I believe Mr. Boyle commented on a walk-in from East Meadow Road. He was unsure of how we were going to get in from that side. And there is if you look at sheet 2 and 4, you'll see a connection to the proposed sidewalk. It goes right into the on-site sidewalk. So the street sidewalk leads into the on-site sidewalk with consideration for elevation, wheelchair ramps, etc. I should say handicap ramps. And you're right, the arborvitae symbol throughout was changed so that we have coniferous trees now rather than variations. It noted in the notes that they were going to be arborvitaes. The symbol is there now and consistent. Elevations, as I told you, it's been regraded throughout. We defined the retaining walls as concrete wherever we're building them. Many of them, I'd say about 80% of the retaining wall has been, walls have been eliminated by regrading. Okay, from the engineering department, they noted that the contractor must obtain any and all necessary construction permits, and that goes without saying, but on sheet 2, I believe we added a note indicating such. Engineering office contacted for all site inspection, and these are just notes that were added. They're kind of boilerplate now. It's, the engineering department seems to be consistently asking for them, so we're putting them on all the sheets. And that was on all the presentations. That was on sheet 2. As-built of electronic and submitted within 90 days of occupancy. That's on sheet 2 as a note. Utilities from East Meadow Road are shown, sheet 2. And usually on what's on sheet 2 is also on sheet 4, because like I said, they were just added as a scaled-up version. The existing traffic mast and base are shown on all plans. So we added that, not just one set, but all. The 28 square feet on Mammoth Road, I believe I'm calling that it's on supplemental plan 2. It's on supplemental plan 2 where I addressed that with a field survey tying bound to bound in from University Ave, I believe it is, in Lowell, all the way over to Mammoth Road, bound, Drake Lowell border. So we tied that in, and we were able to take the old plans and compare them. Those are the old layout plans of, as I said before, 1886, 1893, and also compare them to the current plans, which is your street maps. And one more plan was the subdivision plan for that parcel that we're proposing. All stamps of check that all plans are stamped and signed. Engineering was concerned that we didn't really need city standard catch basins and covers because of the, it's on private property, but I propose them all the time anyways because of the known structural stability of most of them. And it's usually that shade concrete or equal. So we just stayed with it. I didn't see the reason to change that note. We will use the city standard, although we were given the option to change. Driveway permits are required, of course, sheet 2, as a note. Trench permits are required, again, sheet 2 as a note. And we're going to, if and when the decision is made on what happens with the street layout plans, we will install survey points, whether they be nails, pipes, pins, whatever, drill holes in a wall, whatever is needed. But that issue has to be cleared up to 28 square feet of area on Mammoth Road. But it does not affect the location of the site development. I redesigned around it and pulled everything away from any one of the questionable areas. So we could still go ahead and design this and be on our own property if and when the situation comes up. We'll go out and lay out the street design that is required. I believe engineering may be involved in this too, and the legal department. Work hours to be coordinated with the DPW to ensure adherence to city ordinance. That's a note again on sheet 2. Signage and street markings to be coordinated with the Department of Plan and Development to ensure compliance, applicable local, state, and federal standards. Sheet 2 note. These are all coming out of engineering, by the way, so just bear with me and I'll try and get through it as quick as possible. There's a notification policy. You have to notify engineering anytime you're doing any of this type of work, which is drainage, trenching, et cetera. So that's also a note on sheet 2. I guess the Mammoth Road parking was questioned. Again, exit only on the stairs should prevent anybody from parking there, but that's really a parking issue with the, I guess, the police if it's posted not to park. But we're not providing any real access into the building from that side. Exit only will be, I believe by signage will be detailed. As I said before, this will be done in 6-inch granite curbing VA4 standard for the city of Lowell. That's shown on the plans. That's on sheet 4. I haven't noted here, sheet 4. Concrete sidewalks are proposed for East Meadow Road sidewalks, and they're spelled out on the size and the location. Any damaged on Mammoth Road will be replaced. If you look at sheet 4, sheet 3, and supplemental plan 3, kind of spells it out. ADA standard removable detectable warning pads at all handicap ramps, red in color, note added to sheet 4, per request of engineering. Driveway grades, you can look at sheet 2 and 4. Again, there's spot grades and throughout. Contact name has been added onto the plan, even though I believe we had it on the calcs, which is part of the calcs, by the way, is a maintenance and maintenance manual and operation manual, and on that I usually That's where I usually put the contact person, but it's been added to the plans on sheet 2. The construction site entrance, we're going to use the existing entrance, but with some stone for the first, during the early part of construction, which will be, 25 feet, I think, wide by 40 feet deep of stone to prevent mud, et cetera, from getting onto the street. Catchment areas, they're in the calcs. You don't want to see them on these plans. I don't believe you really need them there. They're part of the calculations, where does the water go before and after construction. And there's 2 plans, 8.5 by 11 plans, would usually satisfy that situation. So I didn't add them to the larger plans. I think it'd just get in the way. I probably need another sheet. Erosion control to be shown. That's silt fence and hay bales. Supplemental Plan 2 indicates that. Erosion control to be inspected and maintained following all storm events. There's a 24-hour window. That's a note on supplemental sheet 2. Snow area address, no snow onto city streets from site, sheets 2 and 4. Just a little bit left here. Fire department had an approval except for the sprinkler system. I believe that's all they addressed. And building design, I have a note here, sheet 2. I think I did put a note there on sheet 2 that they had been satisfied if we addressed that issue. Traffic engineer corrections are as stated. Signal mast and foundation on plan sheet 1 to 4. I put it on all of them. That was one of their concerns. Retaining wall at building and parking lot access to building, review and revise where necessary. Sheets 2 and 4, I did that. I got rid of most of the retaining walls and was able to grade into the existing grades. Solid waste recycle approvals. I believe they had given one, but they asked for a larger dumpster, 6-yarders, I believe, 2 6-yarders, one for recycle, one for trash. The pad was upgraded to accommodate that. Sheets 1 through 4. Okay, I have here a note, it's note 14 on sheet 2. I guess that's a dumpster note. Water utility approval, we're going to bring the utilities in from East Meadow Road. Wastewater utility approval, as noted, the utilities are coming in from East Meadow. Okay, and I have a note here, there was already a walkway from East Meadow Road to project rear entrance, but that was on the plans that you people hadn't seen. No, I don't know if engineering had seen them yet either. But like I said, we got to, I think theirs was theirs was from the 10th. I believe we got them a little bit after the 10th, so I mean, some of this stuff wasn't coordinating at the time. And I realized they had to look everything over, and they're busy. It's just by the time the submittal got in. Mitigation and traffic signals, they wanted to know about that. We have the calcs. We show what we're going to do with subsurface drainage, putting drainage in the subsurface design. There's also 8x10 pad shown that the traffic engineer wanted noted. Note 4 indicates one, so forget it, that's redundant, that's the recycle bins again. I note here 5-foot sidewalk on supplemental Plan 3. More notes on the 1886, 1893 layout. I'm not going to bore you with that stuff. It's more of a survey thing that after the decision is made on where we're going with which layout we're going to hold. What that actually means very quickly is the current street bounds do not match up with the 1886, 1893 layouts, and match more up with your map sheets, your current map sheets. So I'm thinking that's the way you're probably going to go, but it's not my decision. I got a note here, all fencing will be 6 foot high. Someone had asked. All fencing will be 6 foot high, and all the trees are shown. Fencing on the south side only, and because we're trying to, and we're also trying to save the existing trees over along, I guess it'd be the east side. That's along the lot next to them at East Meadow Road, as I said before. Okay, and that fencing, I mean, that, I note here that that's what would be considered the rear line of the lot. And I believe that's the sum and total. Any questions?
No questions at time, thank you.
Thank you.
Attorney Hall, I know we had a traffic study done, and I believe we received an email indicating what the applicant was willing to do in regards to the traffic study.
I don't have the traffic study, Mr. Chairman. My understanding was that the city was planning on putting a traffic light there.
Do you have the email that we got today, Judy?
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, so you're referring to the email from, it originally was from Joe, and it kind of listed the requirements for, or the suggestions for mitigation.
Oh, with
for-
the, yeah.
for
I do have
traffic.
that.
Yes.
This
Can
was
you
the one
address that
about,
briefly? Yeah.
about the sidewalk and everything?
Yeah, we just got this today, talks about
Traffic signalization.
traffic signalization and the developer's willing to put money
Yes.
towards to
I
set a
did-
light and if wants certain things to be done.
Yes, I did get that, Mr. Chairman. In that letter, the developer has nothing to do with the lights themselves. The city is footing the bill for the installation of the lights. This is a suggestion by the city to the developer, that the developer contribute up to $25,000 for sidewalks and handicapped facilities and crosswalk facilities, curbing, things of that nature, the physical work other than the lights. In his original proposal, the developer was going to do install a new sidewalk along East Meadow Road that abutted his property. So the city felt that for the developer to do that haphazardly, not in conjunction with the city, wouldn't be a wise idea. So they came up with an idea that he would not have to do the sidewalk, but that he hopefully would contribute some money towards the entire project, which he's amenable to. The suggested figure of $15,000 is much more attractive than the $25,000. But I think, without talking to him, if it had to be, he would contribute up to $25,000. The troubling part of this, the city has come up with a ratio that they believe that, at least indicated that Mr. O'Neill is in for a third of all of those improvements, when he's only building his sidewalks about 25 feet, 30 feet. They intend to go along West Meadow Road, up Mammoth Road, beyond the automotive repair shop, probably 150 feet, sidewalks all about. So if you looked at the footage of his sidewalk compared to the entire sidewalk, we take exception that it's a third. But having said that, we are willing to accept the third. There's only one thing we're really not anxious or willing to get involved in. The city has said, well, if it's more than 25,000, within 60 days after we're finished, whatever it's going to be, we'll chip in the balance of, if it's 50,000, that's 1/3 of our cost, we'll have to chip that in. So there's no cap to Mr. O'Neill. He's willing to cap it at 25,000, but if it's $300,000 or $400,000 to do all this work, the development does not warrant a contribution of 50, 75, or even 150,000. So, yes, he's willing to pay his fair share, and actually we're biased. We feel the fair share is 15. It would have cost him less to do his work than 15,000, maybe in the order of 7,000 to 9,000. He's willing to go to 25, and we'd beg the board's indulgence to agree with us that leaving this open-ended is not a very wise financial or business means. I think it might affect his financing. The bank would not know that there was going to be a big bill after he built the building. Where would Mr. O'Neill get that money? It would underpin the whole project to have an open-ended cap. And it's a cap that I've never seen in my 44 years of practice. In fact, the idea of even paying for these improvements to Lowell is somewhat new to an old-timer like myself, but I guess it's the way of the new world. But to leave it uncapped, I think, is unfair, and I'd ask the board's indulgence to cap it at 25,000, and which would be more than enough of Mr. O'Neill's share.
Thank you, Counsel. Okay. Anything else further for the applicant at this time?
Well, there's just a short matter relative to the title to the improvements in the traffic facilities that the city owns at the corner of East Meadow and Mammoth Road. There's a light pole that, a blinking light, I believe it is, and it actually sits on Mr. O'Neill's property. I don't know if it's 28 square feet or what. It's a little patch of land, but it's sitting right in the middle of his property. And he's backed off the development so that this is kind of a no man's land for him. And I think he's amenable to dealing with the city, making it a condition of this situation here that we give an easement for that facility to convey it if we can legally without underpinning our lot. And in addition to that, the city has a wish to locate a meter box on the corner there, and so that the regular fully functioning lights will have a meter, an electrical service, and it's much more dramatic, I guess, than just this one little flashing light. So Mr. O'Neill has agreed to sit with the city, and you could put that in the decision to, I think the city has already looked at it because it was their suggestion, to locate the meter on his property. And that would be at no cost to the city. The city wouldn't have to take eminent domain proceedings, and we all know how costly that is and time-consuming, that we would sit down and gift that situation. I think an easement's the best way to go, but if we have to and it doesn't affect the legal title to my client, then we could actually convey that piece to the city. Right now, I went back to 1894 at the Registry of Deeds. There's no mention of any rounding or taking of that 28 square feet, so that if a title examiner were going to go back 100 to 125 years, and you really only have to go back 50, you wouldn't see any taking or any layout of any situation. I think there was a mistake made 125 years ago, maybe, I think it's 1894, when that actually was done. There was a plan that would reflect that the city owned it, but it never got recorded. So it's in the city records. I think the city has been going by it. For whatever reason, why it didn't get recorded. That's why if you did the title, you wouldn't find it. So it's my opinion, Mr. O'Neill owns that property unfeathered. The city very well would have an adverse possession claim against it, could very readily take it by eminent domain. So I don't really think it's an issue at all. I think it could be resolved very amicably.
Thank you, Counselor.
I don't know if I could reserve, Mr. Chairman, maybe 3 minutes at the end of this, just to argue why we think we should get this special permit.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. At this point in time, does anybody want to speak in favor? In favor? In favor? In favor? Hearing none at this time. Anybody in opposition?
Evening. Scott McKenzie, 60 Lamb Street. I'm a direct abutter. Thank you. I want to start off just a little bit small. some concerns when I was looking at the new plan. I know there was conversation about the dumpster and the pad. I went back, I have all the plans from the original time we were here, and I'm seeing 10 by 22 originally, with the dumpster being closer to my property. They've moved it several times. I'm looking at the new plan, and what I'm seeing is a really small square off a, looks like 22 feet. So I'm not really getting the whole added bigger dumpster area. I'm just confused. We've been here numerous times. Each time, he's addressed a small piece of what was the real critical issue here. Well, we need more snow removal area. Okay, well, I added it. We want, a few more shrubs. We've added it. Sidewalks are there on Mammoth Road. But if we damage them, we'll replace them. But the core issue that you as a board has continuously driven home, not only to us who are in opposition, but to Steve as well, is the size of this project for that lot. You brought up the last meeting, it needed to be, the actual structure of the building needed to be moved back quite a bit. It's not. Just isn't. I wrote everything down. But we've added more snow area, and this is what he does. He's been allowed to finish projects in this city that are an embarrassment because he's addressed little issues here and there. And the board and the city has not put their thumb down and said, hey, look, this isn't going to happen. It shouldn't happen. Just like this project shouldn't happen. Now, if Steve originally came to us and said, hey, I'd like to put a nice condo unit there, appropriate for the size of the lot, some nice parking in the back, as long as it met the city guidelines, we'd be happy. We'd all be sitting here approving it. He hasn't done that. This plan has not changed very much since the day he walked in here. He's just made subtle changes here and there. But yet we have continuance after continuance after continuance. And why? Because that's what he's done in the past. Why? Because it's been approved in the past for past projects. So I'm confused. I'm just scratching my head. I don't understand why this continues to happen. I sat back there and listened to his lawyer talk about, well, you've got stuff on our property. I'd hate to see, where that's going to go. But we put new sidewalks in. Traffic study's very clear. The traffic study was asked for by us on numerous occasions because of the amount of traffic on that intersection. By putting a commercial project there, by adding apartments there, it greatly increases the traffic in that area. Well, we shouldn't be held liable for paying for that. Well, why shouldn't you? You're the reason why there's going to be an increase in traffic in that intersection. But we're only willing to pay this much. But don't forget, you still have stuff on our property, but we'll talk about that later. Are you kidding me? Really, guys? That blew me away. You started, that sounded like, I'm sorry, it sounded like extortion to me. Let's work something out, approve this plan. Maybe we'll talk about the easement, about other things that the city may have on its property. I don't like it. It smells, I'm sorry. This does not meet or come anywhere near the bylaws. He talked about, well, it meets the height of the structure next door, but not the width. He's got about 33 feet of snow removal. He's got marked down 112 feet coming across for frontage off Mammoth Road. The building's 80 feet wide. Well, I don't care if it's the same height as the one next door, it's 80 feet wide. The guy next door's house isn't 80 feet wide. It's a massive structure on the corner of Mammoth and East Meadow. Massive. Let's talk parking. He went from 18 spots with a smaller project, now he's down to 16. Where are the people gonna go? Where are they gonna park for the variety store? What commercial projects going in there, where are those people gonna park? There's gonna be no parking signs on Mammoth Road. Where are they gonna go? They can't go anywhere, because the project is too big for the lot. He refuses to scale it down, to make it appropriate, so you can vote in favor of it, so us as abutters and residents in the area can turn around, come in here and say, it's great, let's do it. He doesn't. Why? Because he's gotten away with this time and time again in the city. I added more snow area. Look, new sidewalk. I want you guys to really think about what you said the last time you walked in here and made us sit for 3.5 hours. You all had deep concerns about the size of this project. You had deep concerns about where it's placed on Mammoth Road. You had deep concerns about parking in the back of that building adequate enough for what he is proposing. And now you also have the traffic study to back it up. This plan shouldn't even be approved until the traffic plan has been in place. The lights are in. It's safe. Right now, what we're looking at is we're going to put this massive structure in the corner of Mammoth and East Meadow. Oh, by the way, when the city gets to it, they're gonna actually make it safe then for pedestrians and traffic? Isn't that backwards? Shouldn't it be made safe for us? And then the project can be reviewed and decide whether it's then appropriate for the site? I think it's backwards here. I really do. I had just a couple of other concerns. I don't know who addresses them, but I know the building on that lot is extremely old, similar to my house, which is around 1930. Who's in charge of making sure that the guidelines for the raising of that existing structure, asbestos, for one thing, the house is that old, how do we go forward with the project? Who's in charge of making sure that the home, the ground, since that is on the downgrade of East Meadow, so for the last 100 years, everything's been flowing down. Has the ground or the building been tested for any types of hazardous materials, especially in the building when that's all they used back then? So when they start raising that building, who's to say it's going to be safe in that general area? Because I'm not familiar with how that works. And I don't know if you guys address it, but somebody should before the building's torn down. And I think that is about it. I've talked about 4 of the criteria that's addressed in the pamphlet from you guys. Oh, sorry, one last thing. Talks about community needs, social, economic, and community needs. We have, especially when it comes to the variety store and the commercial property, we have 3 variety stores within a 1.5-mile radius. We have 6 food establishments within a mile radius. I'm not sure how this development fits the needs of the community as part of the 6 criteria. Talked about the traffic flow, talked about the neighborhood character and structure, and how it still doesn't meet that. And then it talks about the impact on city services. We already heard from his lawyer the impact on the city services, not only through your own traffic study, but the discussion of how they're going to move forward in regards to some city property on his land. And that's it. I appreciate your time. I hope the next time we meet, I'll be here speaking in favor of Steve's project. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else like to speak in opposition?
Hey, Deb Forgione. My mom is in a butter on East Meadow, and I am going to follow up, of course, everything Max said, and I'm just going to do a little bit of follow-up from the decision criteria. I would say the positive event that came out of this was the city council watched the planning board. Everyone put a spotlight on how dangerous that area is, and the city invested in a traffic study. And it's a good traffic study. It identifies all the issues that we have in that area. And this was approved at the last city council meeting. So Corey Belanger brought it in as a motion. It was approved. The traffic study was done. It was done fast. They saw how important it was. And it's got a lot of improvements for that area. And so with that said, I don't know if anyone here has actually read it in depth, because I haven't, but I did go through it to be able to make some comments tonight on what is required for a special permit under the decision criteria. And so number 2 says the traffic flow and safety, including parking and loading. I guess what you have to consider is the determination if the adverse effects of the proposed use and structure do not outweigh its beneficial impacts. Well, this clearly is the traffic flow, the safety. This got rated, and that intersection is an F before this project came to you. So this is an F, and now you have a project that's going to bring more traffic into the area. The other fabulous point of this report is they said that there should be no parking in that corridor of Mammoth Road and East Meadow Road. And I called Councilor Belanger tonight to ask, does that require a vote to make that law that we have to follow it? And he's going to check on that, but it's in the report. It was approved by the city council. I don't know if it's established as we speak or we have to go back and get a vote, but they're saying that part of Mammoth Road and East Meadow Road should have no parking. They also said they have a working set of lights, a pedestrian light, sidewalks. So this traffic is clearly showing that this project would have an adverse effect, especially on a determination that's in an F. The second part would be neighborhood character, and I spoke on this last time, and I truly, truly would like you to please deny the project based on neighborhood character. That building needs to be in line with every house on his side of the street, and it's easy because you look at it right now, it's a straight shot. Every house has the same frontage, and this house should as well as behind him have the same frontage. That's the neighborhood character. If you put it in any closer the way he did, it's going to be an eyesore because it's outside the neighborhood character. The other part of the neighborhood character is there is no house that abuts him or across the street that has more than 2 units. It should never be more than 2 units. And the second part is, I see this drawing, and there is a whole nother floor after the 3rd floor. That's 4 levels. I don't know how anyone could think that that could be the same height as Dan Fournier's house next door. Again, it's out of neighborhood character. And the third part would be, it says potential fiscal impact. Well, Mac pointed the fact that we've got variety stores. That neighborhood is not saying, thank God he's here, we have a variety store. We have them. So I actually probably take away business from the liquor store across the street. So I think the height of this building right here looks like the height of that liquor store. And I know we were here at the couple of meetings back and said that that is the poster of what not to do in that area of Pawtucketville. So I am respectfully asking you to deny it based on the fact of the neighborhood character and traffic. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else wants to speak?
Good evening. My name is Frances Draper, and I live at 359 Mammoth Road in the corner East Meadow. My concern, other than what we've discussed all along, has been the exit and entrance off of East Meadow Road into the property. The city does not want to grant that on Mammoth Road, and so that means that both of that will be on the East Meadow side. My driveway will be directly across from that. Lately, I have noticed that with this building he wants to put up, which is so out of character and high, what is going to be this is a sight line coming from Mammoth Road onto East Meadow, or from West Meadow, crossing Mammoth Road onto East Meadow. You go up, it's a grate. The cars tend to step on the gas and go fast because they want to make that grate. Now the school buses are coming back. The city buses have come down East Meadow Road onto Mammoth Road. They stop not in front of Mammoth Road, on East Meadow on my side. People come out. The school buses are now going to be doing that. And we're talking about an entrance that's just one half of the street over, that you're going to have these trucks and everything coming in and out. It doesn't appear to me that there's room for them to turn around. It's either going to be driving in or backing out. And I think that is a very big, dangerous thing to do. Other than that, I don't have anything else to say because I think my colleagues have covered it greatly. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good evening. Gail Frace, 29 Tolman Avenue. And I apologize. I brought some pictures, but I've been having one of those days since about Thursday. So if I may, I had hoped to have a set for each of you, then I hoped to have a set at least for each table. But we're just being what they are, so I'm going to start one at this end and one down here. And I think most people think of this intersection as the first picture where it's very busy, but a lot of times it isn't. And we've talked about the character and the setback, and actually, I believe one gentleman on the board last time said that he normally drives across West Meadow and East Meadow. If you turn from Varnum onto West Meadow in Drive, you go past all residential with the exception of 2 schools. You get to this intersection, and really the only business at the intersection is set back. It's the liquor store and the residential units above. Then you proceed, and then you go past 2 apartment complexes, but then the next business you encounter is the variety store at University Avenue and Old Meadow. That some people are looking at, the character really is the residential. There's a couple of businesses, but mostly what you see is residential. And what I'm hearing, that one question that I have is when we're discussing the height, because there is a rise and there's been some discussion of grading, are you matching the height of the surrounding buildings above sea level or above modern grade?
Question is what?
Are you matching the height of the surrounding buildings as their height above sea level or their height above modern grade?
USGS on the elevations, contours, etc. I don't have anything to do with the architectural.
Are the roof lines matching from one to that, from?
It's a 2-story with an attic space, what appears to be an attic space on the 3rd floor. On the 3rd floor.
Okay. And then one other question that I have is if this is the same drawing that was posted on the website, is about a retaining wall.
There's no retaining wall.
So the retaining, is that a fence then? Because this feature appears here, but it doesn't appear here.
That's back.
Oh,
It's looking up East Meadow Road up there.
so this is this?
This is
Isn't this corner? So this wall would then appear down here, wouldn't
no,
it?
it's way it's in the back.
Oh, it's in,
Looking at East Meadow.
This is the front end.
Yeah, I get that, but to me, this looks like it came out to about here.
This plan too, you're looking at here, and you're looking beyond that, so you're looking back.
So this is that wall? Oh, okay. Thank you. The other thing is that there's been some discussion about the 28 feet. If I'm not mistaken, at the last meeting we were at, Judy, didn't you indicate that that was often not recorded in other areas where the property has been taken?
I did talk with the engineering department, and I did see the street layout plans. The street layout plans do show the taking. The meets and bounds description for East Meadow Road do show, or do reference the taking. However, I do not have any information with regard to whether those takings were actually recorded, and I would defer to the applicant's attorney. If he has done that actual research, he has found, and he is stating here tonight, that those takings were not recorded. Again, all I did see in the engineering office were the street layout plans and the meets and bounds description.
Would that need to be recorded for it to have been a legal undertaking?
I would
suggest-
refer
Well,
that to
Mr. Hall
the
addressed that.
attorney.
I don't think Judy's a
Yes.
lawyer to answer that question.
Exactly, just what I was going to say.
She's not a city, I mean, I'm a lawyer too, but they don't want me to speak as a lawyer for the city. That's why we have a law department, but I think Mr. Hall addressed that pretty accurately, but we'll get back to him on that. I mean, do you have anything else, ma'am? No? Okay.
Hi.
Okay, hello.
When I saw this,
Oh, you have to state your name for the record, ma'am. I'm sorry.
Mary Freeman
Yep.
and a butter, 17 East Meadow Road. There's just 6 words that come to mind every time I see this. You gotta be kidding me. This does not fit into our neighborhood. And what I feel bad about is something like this would, across the street, behind them, either side, their property would devalue. That's totally unfair. What I'd like to talk about is everyday living, actually, in this area. The building is way too big. We've already, since we've been coming here, we've had already 2 accidents that were recorded with the police. So far at that intersection, you know, recorded to the police, 9 accidents, 2 severe, and 1 fatality. We've lost, and people have lost enough, because this is an extremely dangerous intersection. School's going to be back very shortly. And the traffic on East Meadow Road, between the parents taking their kids to school, the school buses, and people going to work, backs up beyond Lamb Street. Same thing happens on the other side at West Meadow. It can go for a half a mile or longer on Mammoth Road. It's very, very dangerous. And you want to bring more cars to that area? The other thing is parking. Mammoth Road is Route 128. Route 128 with double lines. There shouldn't be any parking. And East Meadow Road, it's just a neighborhood street, double yellow lines. You cannot park on East Meadow Road, because when cars want to go around you, they have to go into the opposing lane. Again, very dangerous. Not to mention, this building is so big that even the buses are not going to have a sight line. There will be no sight line for people on East Meadow Road trying to take a left on to Mammoth. And as I said before, the buses run down East Meadow Road and come up Mammoth Road every 30 minutes. We can't have more traffic there. The other thing is, No variety store is going to make it at that property. None. There was a variety store where the Pawtucket Diner is. Didn't make it. No retail store ever made it in that building. No one is going to drive down a driveway to a variety store where they don't know if they can park or not, because there's no parking even for the employees that work there. That's not going to happen. What we're going to end up with is another pizza place. Condominiums, because their owner, have to maintain, pay for insurance on the building and the common areas. They have their own dumpster. So what does that mean? They're going to be paying fees to take care of their property, and you're going to have 2 commercial units getting away with murder? They don't have to pay anything? This makes no sense at all, no common sense at all. And the other thing is going to be, this building is so big, and they're going to have lights on it to light up the parking lot. Do you think for 2 minutes that's not going to shine in people's bedrooms? So we're going to be affected, not only losing property value, more traffic, but inconvenience of even enjoying our homes, never mind our yards. I probably mentioned it to you, this is probably going to be the 3rd time, but I mentioned it the last time I was here, about the stone wall. I told you there was no stone wall. So I'd like to show you the pictures. There's no stone wall.
We were there, all of us. We've all been there a couple of times.
All right.
Yep.
So, as you can see, this is my walkway, and I own 6.5 feet on the other side. Do you see a stone wall? And here's 2 other views of it. There is no stone wall. So I'd like to say, for the children that will be starting school, for our citizens that live in the area, and to the people that care about everything that happens in Pawtucketville, you can't let this go on. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, my name is Curtis LeMay. I live at 40 Robert Street, which is the corner of 6th Avenue in Pawtucketville. But I've lived in Pawtucketville adjacent to this site as a youngster, and I've been in Pawtucketville over 60 years. I guess I did not speak last month. I think I spoke in June, but there's 2 issues that I have, namely, number 1 would be the mixed use. You know, as a youngster, I recall the neighborhood being a mom and pop store, and back in the day on Mammoth Road, over by 8th Avenue, there was a variety store that used to be Ed's Variety. Prior to that, it was Dan's, and down 6th Avenue, where I am, used to be Jim's or Fred's Variety. But in 1970, they both closed because 7-Eleven opened up down Mammoth Road a little further. And if you go on University Ave, you'll see Mackey's at the Dracut line. I won't speak for Mackey's, but I think, in my opinion, that based on them having availability of Keno and beer and wine license, that's what's keeping them in business. So the kicker, I guess, for me is now that the city is requiring a full traffic light at that intersection. I can't for the life of me, as I stated in June, come 4 or 5 o'clock till whenever, you can get traffic backed up at the intersection of Mammoth and East Meadow based on the red light four-way all the way to 6th Avenue. I don't know how long they're going to be synchronized and allowing you to go through, but if the egress on this project is going to be totally East Meadow Road, the entrance is not probably less than 50 feet at the full light. So the traffic's going to probably be backed up to at least Shea Street, if not. I mean, they have limits now on 8th Avenue and Lamb Street that you can't go through during certain hours of the day because of the children and this and that. And I don't know where this will end. I wouldn't be before you if it was residential, I can tell you that, but I can only speak for myself. I just have a problem with the mixed use and the full warrant of the traffic survey with a full signal now. I don't know how that, the commercial end of it will be sustained. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Good evening, Daniel Fournier, 333 Mammoth Road. I'm near Butter. My only concerns are that in the wintertime, you have snow plowing. Where's the snow gonna go? Between my building and his, where's the water gonna go? My other concern is when he has the dumpsters, are they gonna be up against by my kitchen, by my windows? When I open up the doors, I'm gonna smell dumpsters. You got rodents, you got mice, you got rats, you got fields, traffic. Yeah, it's a big concern. Try to pull out of my driveway between 7:30 in the morning or 6:30 or even 5:30 to 7 o'clock at night trying to pull in my driveway. You got traffic down to 7-Eleven at times. I'm not against them building anything, but again, I want them to build something that's going to fit the neighborhood, that's going to benefit the both of us. I want them to build something that's going to be good. But I also want them to build something where it's going to keep our property values high. So let's say he builds something that doesn't keep the property values high. Do I get a break on my taxes? Honestly, you know. Other than that, I really wish him to build something nice. 6 units, that's fine. Again, I've been in Pawtuckaville for 15 years. I like it. It's quiet. It's a good neighborhood. Meet a lot of nice people. And I lived next door to the McAvenues when they were alive. They were very nice people. I just think that what he's trying to build is too big. Another thing is going to be, if the building's too close to the sidewalk, when I sit on my front steps, am I going to look on the side of a building, or is it going to sit back to where my porches are? And is it going to be higher than my rooftop, which is 45 feet, maybe 30, 35 feet? Other than that, I have no complaints or complaints. I just want to know is where the water's going to go when it melts. On my side of where our lands meet, I do have a stone wall. It's an old field stone wall, I guess. It's decent shape, but if he's going to drop the levels, is there going to be, does he replace it? Do you fix it? So other than that, that's the only concern. I've been here 4 or 5 times. This is the first time I'm speaking, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else want to speak? Anybody else? Anybody else? Mr. Hall, I'll let you speak for a few minutes before the board goes, if you want to sum up anything. You're welcome, sir.
I'd first like to address a couple of points. As far as the developer's concerned, we're not going to have any parking on Mammoth Road or East Meadow Road. We're not going to encourage any parking. We'd sign any petition to bring before the city council to prohibit parking there. So I don't think that's really an issue as far as the developer's concerned. If the neighbors can get a petition to the city council to eliminate parking, put the signs up, we'll be right there to sign the petition. So I don't really think that is a particular problem. Someone said that they thought that there were 4 floors in the building. The top floor, I believe, is not even an attic. It's not even a walkable area. There aren't 4 floors there. It's what you see. With respect to the sight line, I was out there today, and I pulled up to the stop line at Mammoth Road, and I would not be looking at the side of the building. I could look down Mammoth Road, so I don't think that's an issue, particularly where the city has asked the developer to put the building in that location. Our original proposal was to put it out back, and we deferred to the city planning and development department to put it out front. So to stand here and get beaten back for this doesn't seem fair, but that's just our point of view. I think as far as the lights, someone said they're going to have lights shining in their bedrooms, and we know better than that. We know the lights have to shine down. We know the city has light ordinances, and those will all be complied with. We were here several times before. One of the neighbors said nothing has changed, which is shocking to me, because before we had a fairly large restaurant, Italian restaurant, with a variety store that didn't meet the parking requirements, and several other variances were requested. We stood and listened to the neighbors. We listened to this board. We were told by the neighbors and the board to come back. This is a traditional mixed-use neighborhood. That's what it's zoned for. We took that to mean mixed-use, commercial, and residential. Several people spoke about that at the meeting. So we went back and completely changed the proposal from what it was before. Absolutely, completely changed the proposal to meet what we thought would be the wishes of the board, that we have mixed use. We have 4 residential units and 2 commercial units, which meets the traditional zoning requirements of this traditional mixed-use zone. We have exactly everything we need for zoning. We're not here, as you could see, looking for some variances like we were before. Everything meets the zoning bylaw. So I think that we've had a considerable change, almost 180 degrees, to come up with another proposal that meets all the zoning requirements that we have in the city, has a traditional mixed-use feature to it, which I think that some of the board members wanted, and even the neighbors. The other thing that is somewhat troubling is the neighborhood. I'm sitting over here saying, what is the neighborhood? Well, it sounds to me that the neighborhoods are the abutters, maybe 2 down at the most. Heaven forbid, they're not across the street. The neighborhood is not across the street. It's not up East Meadow Road, 4 or 5 houses, or down Mammoth Road, 3 or 4 houses. It's right next door. Well, the neighborhood is here in the master plan. We have East Pawtucketville and West Pawtucketville. So we have to look at our area of Pawtucketville to find out what the neighborhood is. Not just the abutters in the house and how high this is, how big that is in relation to 2 or 3 houses surrounding the development. It's the people of Pawtucketville, in I think 2004 or 5, spent hundreds of hours with the city to define the Pawtucketville neighborhood. And that's what this board should look to, the Pawtucketville neighborhood, not the abutters. And I look at the area, and I look across the street at the package store, the automotive repair shop, all of the apartments. I drove up there. There are apartments beyond the property. There are apartments down towards downtown on the same side of the street. There are condominiums. There are apartments, 100 or 150. I drove down off of East Meadow Road right behind this project. So all over Mammoth Road and all over this Pawtucketville area, the immediate area. I'm not saying all of a Pawtucketville like this might require, or half of Pawtucketville. I'm just saying within maybe a quarter of a mile, which I think would be fair to see what the neighborhood is in this regard. So we have a lot of commercial use in this area. The city zoned the commercial use, and it didn't just say commercial stopped on the north side of East Meadow Road. It zoned this parcel to be included with that particular section so that mixed use could be used, the commercial uses could be used. So I know it's physically defined by East Meadow Road and Mammoth Road, but we're in the traditional mixed-use district. And if you look up the street, we're much better than anything I saw up the street, 100 times better. You look down the street, you look at condos, you look at apartments, that's what we have. We're going to have a nice 4 units for condominiums there. So I think we've kind of mixed into the character of the neighborhood. We're not the house we're replacing. That'd be ludicrous to hold us to that standard, that we have to look like a single-family house or a 2-family house. That's not what the zoning requires. So I think we look at the standards relative to what we have to show the board, I think, and I'm sure I'm going to get some catcalls from the crowd, I think we do fairly well conform with these 7 requirements that are needed for a special permit, and we meet the zoning requirements. And what it says, it says we have to determine that this particular project is more adverse than the benefits that are enjoyed by the city and the community. So we have to ask the question, not the little minutia questions that have been going on before the mic, but let's look at these 4 units, 4 residential units and 2 commercial units. Let's look at the beautiful building that has been designed by Mr. Karp, hopefully with the tradition of the neighborhood included. And by putting that building there, does that more adversely affect the community than it not being there? And I suggest that what we've done here is actually improved the area. There are some definitions, social, economic, community needs. I think that's kind of subjective, and it's hard to say exactly what that means. The traffic situation is a result of this discussion being brought to the city council. This discussion over the previous 4 or 5 months is actually going to have traffic lights now at this F-rated intersection. So I think that's going to be a phenomenal improvement if we listen to the neighborhood. So I think that's taken care of. The adequacy of utilities and public services, we have absolutely no problem. I think the character of the neighborhood, when we take the full, I believe it's East Pawtuckettville, I'll be corrected, Mr. Fischette, the East Pawtuckettville neighborhood fits beautifully within the character of the neighborhood. It doesn't meet the little condominium next door, maybe. I would argue it might, and it certainly doesn't meet the little house next door. But I think generally in this area, with the commercial across the street, all the apartments around here, I think it does. The impact to the natural environment, we've actually, because of our last meeting, decided and took the advice of the board and neighbors to preserve the back end on the east side of East Meadow Road, a 15-foot buffer. I went out there today. There are 100-year-old maple trees there, beautiful hundreds, 90-foot high maple trees. Those will all stand now, and all that foliage will stand there. It'll be prettied up, so there'll be a real solid 100-year-old buffer between this development and the neighbors up on East Meadow Road. That wasn't in the plan before, so I think we're actually meeting that criteria. And the financial impact of the city, I think what it'll be is 4 new homes, jobs, 2 new businesses, more taxes, and I think they far outweigh any adverse effects that come to this neighborhood. The other thing, which is not part of my argument, but I've listened to this F intersection and the arguments about it, and if we followed it to its logical conclusion, there'll be no more building in Pawtuckettville. We're not going to build another single-family home, another 2-family home, a barber shop, a condominium, anything, because it's going to add traffic to this F intersection. Well, that's just not the case. That's not what the law provides. Mr. O'Neill isn't responsible for fixing a 50-year-old problem. The city's responsible for that. The state's responsible for that. And development cannot be stopped due to an F-rated intersection. Ironically, if it was a C or a D-rated intersection, you could require my client to do all kinds of improvements to bring it back to what it was rated before. But you can't do that now. F is F, there's no G. So you can't get any worse. So I would argue that that standard is not a legal standard and not a wise standard for the city of Lowell or for this board to attain, because it will prevent all development in Pawtuckettville. Why shut down Mr. O'Neill if you're going to give someone else a 20-lot subdivision on West Meadow Road or some other place in Pawtuckettville? So I would argue that that holds little water as far as I would be concerned with respect to whether you approve this special permit or not. So in the end, I thank you for listening to me rant a little bit. I usually don't, but I really kind of into this one after hearing some of the comments that were made this evening. So I apologize if I ranted too much, and I wish you would approve this special permit. Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. At this point in time, I'll turn over to board members. Have any questions? Yep.
Can I just present this to you? This is not just the funds. I have walked around getting signatures.
Okay,
from
you can submit them.
citizens of
Okay.
Pawtuckettville.
Right, just,
There are over 100
right.
signatures.
Sure. You can give it to us. Okay, thank you. I'll be back.
She gave the original.
So I received, this is the Lowell resident petition. By signing this petition, you are stating that you are against the proposed project as it was presented for the location of 339 Mammoth Road. Some of the reasons you are against this project include safety, abutter variances, and I'm not sure what that means. So it must mean the variance that the other butters have on the project, on their yards, I guess, I don't know. Because Mr. O'Neill's not asking for butter variances, and so that means any of the neighbors who have a variance, they're against the neighbors, I guess, I'm not sure. Because it says a butter's variance. And he's not requesting any variance unless this is something that was signed prior to the first meeting, because this isn't dated, so I'm not sure. Can you answer that for me? What's the abutters variance?
No, I just went around.
Okay, all right. Traffic concerns, parking, and neighborhood character. Okay, we'll keep this, okay. Yeah, I'm just saying because of the butter variances, if he's not asking for a variance, oh,
This was the structure of the building to begin with. When I spoke to these people and told them what I was doing,
okay,
none of them wanted this. This
okay.
is what I said he wanted.
All right. So this time I'll turn over to any board members have any questions? Bob, I'll start with you if you don't mind this time.
I have one question. There's 4 condos. Are the retail units condominiums? Are they gonna be sold?
There's no plan for that to happen at this point. It is a good point, though. We hadn't thought about it, but I think Mr. O'Neill is just going to keep them as a rental function of the building.
But they will be part of the condominium,
They would have to pay, yeah, true, but he's going to.
so he will own the condominium?
He'll own the, definitely.
The 2 stores?
Yeah, I believe that. You're going to rent those out, yeah.
All right, that's the only question I had right now.
Okay. Mr. Boyle, any questions or comments?
Actually, I have a number of comments. Unfortunately, Mr. McKenzie seems to have stolen a lot of my thunder. He made a number of points, but he made one big one, which was that this project, it hasn't, in response to comments and issues raised at this board, there have been a number of small changes that have been made to the plan. I'm not talking about in between the proposal for the Italian restaurant building and the proposal for the mixed-use building. I'm talking about from the very first iteration of this mixed-use building to the very latest iteration of this mixed-use building. There have been there have been superficial changes made to this project. For example, the applicant comes in with the project proposing to put 2 commercial storefronts that front on Mammoth Road, where the storefronts and the access to those storefronts, the entrances to those storefronts are on Mammoth Road. He then finds out that he can't use Mammoth Road as the entrance to his storefronts. He needs to use another entrance. Such a consideration should generate a larger change than we won't use that door. That's the type of thing that should result in a major revision of what the plan is. And we haven't gotten any kinds of those major revisions that show that our concerns are being worked into the plan in more than a superficial manner. And that one really bothers me. I think the basic idea of having commercial storefronts that front on 2 streets and don't have pedestrian access coming off of those streets, but rather in from an in behind parking lot is innately inconsistent with the values and goals of the traditional mixed-use district. Now, I want to say something positive. Mr. Carr, good work. This is a nice design. That is a nice-looking building. It's very clear you were given the task of providing an attractive exterior for this building as it has been since it first came in, and I think you really hit a home run. It's a very attractive-looking building from the outside. I think within the design parameters you've been told to work in, you've done a truly excellent job. But I think that those design parameters should have changed. Consistency with neighborhood character. I think that appears to have been interpreted to mean, let's disguise this as a residential building. The commercial storefronts on the first floor, they appear to be disguised as residential. That might be appropriate for certain locations in certain communities, but it's not what consistency with neighborhood character should mean when we talk about a traditional mixed-use district tucked into a residential area. It's okay. Storefronts in the commercial center in the middle of a neighborhood are okay. We don't have to hide them. This type of thing, this is what you'd do if you were building like a strip mall in a suburban residential area and the board wanted to make it not look like it was a commercial project. And I don't think that's what we should be trying to do in this area. If there's going to be commercial storefronts in a traditional mixed-use district in a traditional Lowell neighborhood, they should look like, we all know what that looks like, right? You walk up to them, you walk in the door from the street, and you're in the commercial space. It looks like a store from across the street, it looks like a store from down the street, and you walk in. And that can be done, and that is done all over the city in a manner that is consistent with the established character of a traditional Lowell neighborhood. So I think that, I think you did an excellent job. I just don't think you were given quite the right job to do. This point about, the point about the height of the building. I'm not sure that that question that was asked before, that a really understandable answer was provided. As I understand it, the peak of this building will be as far above the ground as the peak of the house beside it, which is good. The thing is, the ground rises a lot. This lot is much higher than what's across the street. It's much higher than what's across Mammoth Road, and it's much higher than what's down Mammoth Road heading towards downtown. So even a building which is the same height over the ground is going to loom over the nearby buildings. Someone raised the point before, and Attorney Hall addressed it, that it would be, it would be inappropriate to try to make this building be be exactly like a single-family home. Yes, it would. When we have a traditional mixed-use district that is in a residential area, it is appropriate to have a little more bulk, to allow a little more bulk than the homes around it. I'd have maybe a few more units than the homes in the, than you'd have in individual buildings in the residential district. Have it be a little more commercial than than what's going on in the surrounding residential districts. There should be a step up, a little bit of a step up into a traditional mixed-use district, but not this much. I think that both in terms of intensity of use and in terms of building bulk and impact, this is a lot more than what there is in the area. I want to approve a mixed-use project that has some plural number of residential uses and some commercial space too. This one, I'm not comfortable with this one. It's too much. We've been expressing that thought for a long time, and we've gotten back superficial changes. There are fundamental changes that need to be made to this plan, and we haven't seen any fundamental changes in response to our concerns through this since that very first change from the Italian restaurant to the mixed-use project. Since then, there should have been some more big changes, and instead, as Mr. McKenzie said, we've only gotten, check this little mark, check this little mark, check this little mark. It's not good enough for me. That's all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. Mr. Fischett?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. First of all, I'd like to thank Attorney Hall for referring to the Pawtuckaville Master Plan, because the first time this project came around, I only missed 3 meetings in 8 years, and I was homesick with a bucket on my lap. And you mentioned how you disagreed with my reference to master plans and how important that is. So it was somewhat redeeming to see you hold that sheet in your hand. And unless I've missed something with the paperwork, under the special permit, and I think, Attorney Hall, you attempted to address it verbally, but not in a way that, if we're looking at the technical aspect of the zoning ordinance, page 117 of 11.3.2A, criteria for special permits in table of uses. And that's why you're here before us, is because of the special permit on the table of uses. It says, for special permits sought under Article 12, table of uses of this document, the special permit granting authority will only grant a special permit to a project that is consistent with the goals of the City of Lowell Master Plan. A narrative must accompany each application and provide significant information to address how the project meets these goals. At minimum, the narrative must answer the following, and it really goes into, a full page of items that the petitioner is obligated to make the case to the board. Unless I missed something, I didn't see this in the application at all. Right? So, and then you're king in protocol and in strict adherence to the zoning code. I just don't see it. And that's the burden of the applicant, to present that to the board so we can digest that. And it's the very issue, the very core. If you listen to what the concerns of the residents were beyond the minutia, as you say, and unfortunately, the boards live off of the minutia and attorneys live off of the minutia, is that, I'm looking at this and they're having the concerns with the neighborhood character, which is what should have been addressed in great detail in a narrative to this board. So, first of all, technically, I don't see where that meets the requirement for the special permit. And I'm disappointed in that, because that would have helped us try to understand this project and how it meets the requirements of the special permit. Now, also on the height of could somebody tell me the exact height of the building? Nobody, on no plan whatsoever have I looked at, what is the physical height? How many feet is it from foundation base to the peak of the gable end? Pardon me?
28 feet, top of foundation.
From top of foundation. Okay, and how far above grade level is the top of foundation?
Top of foundation is
Can you come to the microphone, please, sir?
Excuse me.
elevation on Mammoth Road at the,
And I'm sorry, can we establish again, from the base of the foundation to the peak of the gable, and how, what's the height of that?
that's right, relative to the street, the elevation's 142 at the street. It goes up 4 feet to 146 at the building, the top of the foundation and the first floor at 148. And it's about 28 feet from there to the peak of the roof.
So I'm sorry, you really did lose me. So you're 28, could we just give me this in feet from how you're breaking it down?
I'm starting at the street, which is 142 up.
That's the elevation, just tell me how many feet from
Okay,
the
so
elevation
it's,
to the,
How high is the building?
It's 6 feet from the street to the first floor,
6 feet, okay, and then
28 feet to the peak of the roof.
Okay, thank you. Now, from that elevation, it would have been helpful to see, though, how that, you know, part of the reason for asking for the elevation was to have a sense of how that actually, again, we talk about neighborhood character and whether that's going to dominate what's around it, is it would have been very helpful to see how that compared to the abutting properties. And also, I was trying to get a sense, and I think there was some value in the idea of leaving the mature trees in the rear of the building. But if I'm looking at that, and if you were trying to produce a plan that gave us some indication from the scale, which is what we wanted to see, how that was going to affect the surrounding area, it looks like it's taller than the trees. So that's really not helpful for us as far as how that actually sits on that site and relates to what's around it. So that's very difficult, you know, for us to really gauge that, how helpful that would be. And the other thing that, and this goes back to many, many years ago with the old Mother Hubbard project, is, and especially, this is such a key location, you know, and the reality of it is, this can really help set the tone and elevate the future development and look of that area, is how this building looks and how it sits on the property. This has a chance to be the cornerstone of better development around there, because there's certainly been a lot of terrible development around there. But my concern is even, you know, Mr. Boyle commented on architecturally how it looks, and we can get into the scale and everything else, but especially the East Meadow side with the rhythm of the windows, and it looks somewhat pleasing. What I would tell you, we ran into a situation with a project where the floor plan didn't match up to the architectural drawing at all. And when they built it, we didn't end up with the windows being at all where they were supposed to be. I have no idea how this relates to the construction of this home. And the last thing I would want to see any project go forward where the architectural look of that is so important on that site, that has to be what the finished product looks like. So that's a concern. And, you know, when you look at the reason for the special permit, I was looking at this. And, you know, I'm looking at it from the petitioner's standpoint, because, I mean, there is a by right use within the table of uses. And the reason the petitioner is here is, you know, when you look at the table of uses under TMU, if the developer under this, and the whole idea of traditional mixed use is to really celebrate the fact that you have retail on the first floor and you have residential. And what is allowable by right is 1 or 2 dwelling units in a building with a legal non-residential use on the ground floor. That's what the petitioner wants to build. He doesn't need a special permit. That's a by right. The reason the petition is here, because it recognizes that we've got some challenges if somebody wants to go beyond that. And the petitioner wants to do 4 to 6 dwelling units on one lot. And so with the mixed use on the first floor. So now we're looking at trying to do more than what is a by right use on that property. That's why we're all grappling with this. That's why everybody keeps referring to the size of it, the mass of it, sitting on that lot. And I think that's something that needs to seriously be looked at. I can't speak for anybody, I can speak for myself. If the petitioner was doing 2 residential units and a retail unit on the first floor, that pretty much fits. So, now, we come to the size of it, and, that can take on a whole other dimension, but I think, given the size of the lot, I think there's some potential for that. I honestly, I'm somewhat sympathetic. Counsel, you touched base on it. And I think we can have different opinions on this, even on the board here. Is traditional mixed use, I think DPD consistently tries to push that closer to the sidewalk. But the projects we've worked on in the past, Bridge Street, the lower portion of Mammoth Road, actually the big building that went up there by right, didn't go to any of the boards, and it's right on the street. So that's typically University Ave is another traditional mixed use where they're all on the street. But we come to this little node right here. And that's not what this looks like. Nothing around here looks like that. There's one property, and it's where the Pawtuckaville Diner is, and that's kind of an aberration out there. Architecturally, I don't think it's very pleasing. I don't think it fits into the surrounding area. That was built before we had the criteria of special permits for neighborhood character. And Lord knows nobody wants to replicate the liquor store or the gas station that's there. So if we're looking at, and the whole idea was, looking at the zoning map, is to have a coherent TMU zone around that intersection. But what we're left with is, what is there to really make this enhance? And I don't have a narrative that tells me how this enhances the neighborhood character. I really don't. But I'm looking at, when I look at that streetscape, I see that nice stone wall that goes as far, you look right down, you can see it, and then you're going to get here and it's going to be interrupted. It's going to be gone, and this building is going to be somewhat forward. I just don't think, and I think we're kind of stuck. I think we're looking at this and not quite sure how to handle it. I agree that I think the parking should be in the back of the building. That's the whole idea, is not to have the traditional mixed use. We went in, when I think of the original proposal where the DCU and Dunkin' Donuts is on Mammoth Road, they wanted to put that back and have the parking up front, and then it was the whole battle of pushing that forward and having the parking in the rear. Well, because that's traditional mixed use, and you basically hide the parking and everything else in the rear. But if we can accomplish that by having the proper setbacks, scaling back the building, still meeting the parking in the rear, now you're looking along Mammoth Road, it has a nice coherent look, you've met the parking, you've scaled down the building to really fit that site, and I don't think you're exacerbating the situation. So those are certainly my thoughts and concern on that. Also, is it's very clear on the, because I like the idea of the keeping the larger, maturer trees. The issue is, and again, I have really no idea if that really sits on that site and doesn't tower over the other properties. Nothing has been submitted here tonight that assures me that that's the case. And so by leaving the maturer trees, obviously that allows some scale. So you got a large building, you got the trees, and it helps to bring the scale of that building down. But God forbid if, blizzard, strike of lightning, whatever, a tree comes down, we have a different looking situation. Also, page 49 of the zoning code makes it very clear when you abut a residential lot, you have to have the lower screening. I mean, you have to have it. So it's a nice idea to keep the trees, but I think something has to come up with keeping the trees and still having the proper screening. And this is page 49, 6.1.8 under screening. And it says, "Any open parking facility for more than 3 automobiles shall be screened from abutting residents, church, or publicly accessible open or recreational space in a manner which will provide an effective visual screen. Said screen shall be at least 5 feet in width, shall contain plantings not less than 3 feet in height, width, or less than 6 feet in height. At least 50% of the plantings shall be evergreen. A solid fence or wall 6 feet high may substitute for all portions of the planted screening." I think you've got to think about even a fence along with it. I mean, keeping the trees for scale, but having the fence along with it. Otherwise, I don't think it properly screens the abutter from the commercial use of that property with the cars. So I think those are all things that really need to be considered, that were not considered. Somewhat disappointing that this is what we're looking at here this evening. I really was hoping that we would have a little bit more of a comprehensive presentation as to how this was going to sit and how it adhered to, or how it met the requirements for the special permit. That qualification wasn't met. And, it looks like the site plan review, and we've done this many times, site plan review can be met, but special permit doesn't get satisfied. So, those are my comments at the moment, Mr. Oh, one other thing, technically, Mr. Close, I don't know, I don't have a plan that has the dumpster pad that you talked about for the, you said you corrected it, and I know somebody mentioned that. And again, I stuck in the minutia, but it goes back to, I don't know what we have and what we don't have. I have the large plans here, and I'm seeing a dumpster pad, and I'm assuming you were reading off of this. This was the latest revision was, I believe the date you have on here was August 2nd. And the dumpster pad that I have is 2 by 5 in every one, 6 by 5, I'm sorry, in every one of these diagrams. So
6 by 5.
6 by 5, unless I'm missing something. And I could be missing something. And it leads to, I was having a hard time following the other items that you were addressing.
6 by 5, that can't be right.
Yeah, they were supposed to. I mean, I got the impression you had addressed what the recommendation, what the concern was, and then the plan doesn't reflect that. But you indicated it did, and that's why I just, I had a hard time following that. Yeah, this is, not sufficient, minimum 8 by 10 required for 2 retail residential. Trash and recycling containers with managed to the bottom.
Yeah, so we need to more than that, yeah. Like you said, he might need for residential. What size is that?
However, if you look at Gunther's thing, I don't have a...
Yeah, and this, and you need the 4 residential as well, yeah. So you need,
I don't have that.
so the 8 by 10 is just for the commercial.
But yeah, because Gunther wants 2 8 by 10s.
Yeah.
So that's not, it shows it right here. I mean, if you go to this one, it's easier to see, Richard. Right there.
Judy, can I just ask you a question?
But Gunther wants 2 8.
If the recommendation on the traffic study was to put this intersection on the capital improvement plan, or what does that mean? What is the timeline we would be looking at that possibly being addressed?
He didn't give a timeline, and he does, like you said, his recommendation is that it be put on there is a traffic signal improvement plan. So they do specify for each year, for each fiscal year, which intersections need full signalization.
Right.
So it needs to be, it would be put on that list. So what I don't have is information on what else is on that list and what the timeframes are.
Right, I think that would be relevant information.
Yep.
To have some idea as to what type of a
Yep.
timeline we're looking on that. Okay, great, thank you. I'm sorry, Mr. Close. Am I reading that? Because, okay.
The planning department looked at the electronic, I think that was something that came in after the plans were presented prior to the last meeting. Not prior to the last meeting, before the last meeting. So, when I changed it, I think we just sent it over electronically, but these plans hadn't been changed. I mean, that's something I'll get right on.
Because I guess the recommendation was, it said that 6x5 was not sufficient, minimum 8x10 required for 2 retail, and then it says 4 residential and 6, and a 6-yard trash and 6-yard recycle containers would manage the volume. So, was that something you said was addressed on an electronic copy?
Well, I think it's changed on the plan.
All right, because it's not,
Right, you're absolutely correct.
okay.
These need to be addressed as far as the size of the
Okay.
pad. We put, what did go on these was the notes for that situation.
Okay, thank,
Waste man, yes.
okay, thank you. All right, I'll just, all right, Mr. Chairman, that's all I have at the moment. Thank you.
Mr. Lockhart?
Yes, just a few comments regarding the dumpster plan. The documentation that I have here doesn't reflect, I think, what has been depicted by, can you just go over that, Ron? Are the 2 8x10 dumpster pads, is that what you're proposing?
No, what I understood was each dumpster was sized for a 8x10, it was the size of the pad. Okay, so it was going to be a 10x12 dumpster pad to accommodate a 6x5 dumpster, 2 of them.
Yeah, okay. Well, I think we have documentation from the recycling and waste people, that there were 2 8x10 areas needed.
I didn't see that one.
All right, well, we obviously need some
Yeah,
clarification.
what is that dated, sir? The 12th.
Oh, the 12th? Yeah, I'm missing this stuff.
The date was August 12th?
Yeah. It
He
says,
Gunther signed this on the 5th of August. 6x5 dumpster pad, not sufficient. Minimum 8x10 required for 2 retail and 4 residential, a 6-yard trash and 6-yard recycling containers would manage the volume. So obviously, we need some clarification on what you're doing there. The second comment I have is regarding snow storage.
Yeah, what I understood this to mean is the 6x5 dumpster pad was not sufficient. Minimum 8x10 required. And there was going to be 2 6-yard trash dumpsters. Retail, 4 residential. A 6-yard trash dumpster and a 6-yard recycle container would manage the value. So 2 dumpsters is what I interpreted. If I'm wrong, we'll check with the recycle. waste and recycle. What I'm getting at is they were sized through the company, and the 8x10 pad would fit both dumpsters on there. And that's what I understood they meant. 1 6-yard for trash, 1 6-yard for recycle would be sufficient.
But clearly, we need some,
But on your plan, I will admit, it doesn't show on that. This was generated on the 12th. My plan is signed on the 5th, so I think what happened is on the submittal that Mr. Genowitz asked me for, I had it changed, and we sent it right over to the planning department.
okay.
So it's changed already, I would believe. I'm going to double-check that. And,
All right. Well, we need clarification there, and I think
Yes, sir.
you should give consideration to the location. Locating a dumpster right next to an abutter, even with the regulations that we have, is generally not the best thing to do. And the second thing I'm a little bit confused about is the snow storage. If you're going to include that on a revised plan as well. Some of the documentation I have, it looks like it's just stuck in the corner. But I'm not sure that's current plan, so.
Again, sorry, I couldn't really hear you.
Well, just snow storage, we need I would like to see an accurate plan as to where that snow storage is gonna be.
On sheet 1 of 4, it clearly indicates to the right and left of the dumpster pad, an area for snow storage. The paved area, beyond the paved area, was going to be an open area before you hit the trees, the coniferous trees, the arborvitaes, and the fence line across the back. So there was going to be a fence, 6-foot vinyl fence, the arborvitaes trees, and then between that area of the arborvitaes and the parking area was a substantial area for snow storage. And that does show on the plan.
Okay.
There is even some additional, if it had to be pushed, along the building itself, what's considered the southerly line of the building. There's some area in there where you could fill in quite a bit of snow.
Okay, well, if those things could be included on an updated plan, it would be very helpful.
And the issue on the, we were trying to save the trees on the West Meadow, but I mean, we had a fence along the northerly line. That's that West Meadow abutter, Mrs. Freeman and Mr. McKenzie. We did have a fence there, but it was thought we'd try and save the trees. We can easily install the fence back in again, save as many trees as possible, and put the put the fence back in with, if necessary, any plantings that would would enhance it.
Sure, okay.
So what I'm saying is that's not a hard thing to do. I don't think the developer would complain about that. There may be even some snow storage in that area, but I believe we show enough at the rear of the parking area.
Yeah, okay. Very good. The only other comment I'd like to make, and particularly after listening to the testimony here tonight, is that I think your development here, although architecturally pleasing, is really negatively impacting the neighborhood character. People who live here, 3 or 4 or 5 people, are opposed to just that one point. So personally, I'm very sensitive to that, and I don't think I can endorse a project of that size. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Dick, any questions, comments?
I have several things, and some may be slightly redundant, so I'll try to skip over them fairly quickly. I too took a look at section 11.3 and .2 and the criteria for a special permit, and neighborhood character was among the first and foremost, setback, height of the property, and so forth. Consistent with the, scale of the buildings in the vicinity and the character of the buildings. Traffic, I think we've discussed that to a great degree. One question or comment I would have on that, and I think it was touched on by one of the residents, is truck deliveries and access. The way that parking lot is structured, a truck, be it a, Coca-Cola or bread or whatever, is going to have a difficult time getting in and out of that parking lot. So, that's a concern. On the architect design here, again, an attractive design, but probably, in my opinion, not necessarily appropriate to the site. I'm a little concerned or confused about where the access and entrances would be to the retail units and to the residential units. Could you point out where that would be? Because I guess we're only looking at two sides of the property here. Could you, perhaps the architect, speak to that?
Cut the microphone, please, sir.
The entrance to the retail and the main entrance for the condominiums are on the parking lot side.
All right, and that, you don't have any drawings that reflect that at this point?
No.
Okay. Okay. Getting back to that dumpster issue, the document we received from Gunther Wellington, in addition to his comment, he took a copy of one of the drawings and drew it out, and it appears that he's looking for two 8x10 dumpsters, one for recycling and one for trash. If that be the case, then you've got a space of about 22 feet wide, where you were going to be putting, at max an 8-foot width. So now you've got 16 feet of width, plus some space between them. That pretty much consumes the 22 feet over there and comes out a little further. That would raise some concern, well, both in terms of, the magnitude of them and the access to the snow storage area would be impeded by that as well. So that becomes a concern. I've addressed the issues of the stone walls, or whether they're there or not there and whatever. And reference that was made to previous development in the area, I think, is not appropriate in this decision. If development decisions were made in the past that may or may not have been in the best interest of the neighborhood, they shouldn't be pointed to now in governing a new development. This development should stand on its own merits and not, judging it against what may or may not have been done in the past in the area. And those are my concerns. Thank you.
I'm just going to follow up where Dick just left off. Ronnie, if you could just open the plan. I have either sheet 3 or 4. And I don't understand how you're going to get to the snow storage.
That's where I was going,
Because, as Dick just stated, you got to have 2 dumpsters, and we all know that has to be fenced in. So if that's the case, you can't come straight to the first snow storage site. You can't go left to the second one because you got a 5-foot concrete sidewalk, and to the far right, you have a parking space. So I don't see where you can meet any of your snow storage. I don't see any of it getting plowed too. To me, I just don't
Three or four?
Yeah, I'm looking at 3 or 4, we have a dumpster that's 6 by 5, and now we want 2 8x10s. So if we put the 2 8x10s in, that's gonna fill up the area where you have the 22 feet. So you have snow storage behind the dumpster, you have snow storage to the left of the dumpster, you have snow storage to the right of the dumpster, and I don't know how you're gonna get to any of it. I don't know. If you can just explain that, I'd appreciate it.
Well, first of all, it's probably appropriate to put in the type of berm that would allow the snowplow to ride up and over, which would be the Cape Cod style of berm. It's got a lip of about 3 inches, and then the back of it's approximately 6 to 8, depends on which one.
Where would that berm go?
Along the back of the parking area.
Okay. But what happens if you have one of the residents parking their parking spot where it says resident parking? So if someone's parking down that end lot, if the car's there, I don't see how you get over the berm. I mean, so if you can't get,
Because I believe if you look to the, the building itself, along where you see the note 65 by 70-foot building, that's an open space. There is a sidewalk there. It can be accommodated with again, a type of berm that you can ride up and over.
I'm missing you. Whereabouts you talking about?
It'd be the southerly line of the building.
So is the snow storage, are they gonna plow, they're gonna plow the parking lot, right?
Yes.
Okay, so if they're in the parking lot, how are they gonna get the snow to the 3 snow storage sites?
A number, like I said, the type of berm that you can ride up and over.
Yep, I know, but I'm saying if...
And ask the resident.
But you're missing my point. I said if there's a car there, doesn't really matter to me what berm's there.
Right, and then
So if a car's there,
accommodations made to move the car, as you would doing a
Okay,
parking
so-
lot that was a...
okay, so you have to move the car, and then you go to snow storage 1. How do you get to snow storage number 2, which is in the middle of the lot? Because where the snow storage is coming now, you need 2 dumpsters with the fencing.
Right.
So, and you have, so how would how would you get to the snow storage behind the dumpster?
Directly behind the dumpster?
Yep.
Drive up and over, push left and right.
So drive up and over what? I'm not getting it.
A Cape Cod style berm.
So, I mean, are you
slanted
just
berm.
gonna ignore the dumpsters, go around the dumpsters, go through the dumpsters?
Around the dumpsters, that's what I do.
I don't see you getting to any of it personally. I mean, you have residential parking, so you can't move any of, you can't plow it to snow storage unless you move a car, at least one, right? Okay.
Not necessarily, you got a lot of area along the southerly end of the building abutting Mr. Fournier's property. You've got a vinyl fence, you've got trees, and then between that, and that's gonna take up, I would think, about 5 feet from Mr. Fournier's line forward. You have 33 feet in all, so that's about, what, 28 feet of area that you could push snow into
But my question is, how?
using the correct berm.
Yeah, I still don't understand how you getting the truck there. I don't get it. All right. I mean, because by the building, you have a 5-foot concrete sidewalk, so you're not gonna go over the sidewalk, right? You can't go through the dumpsters and the dumpster pad,
You could put the type of berm in
which isn't
that
on
would
plan.
allow you to drive up and over.
Right. Because then you have, if you go by the building, that's where the handicap parking is, right? So we're not gonna ask
The
them to move.
question is what?
If you go close to the building, that's where your handicap parking is, right? The 12 by 18?
It's the second,
Yeah. And then you have
Yes.
the lined area,
yes,
and then you have a 5-foot concrete sidewalk.
south of the lined area is just a regular parking space.
Right. But I mean, you're not gonna go up over the 5 feet concrete sidewalk, right?
If you use the correct berm, you could drive up and over,
The sidewalk.
right? For snow storage.
Okay, so once you push it straight, then how do you go right and left?
Turn your wheel and push it left or right.
Okay, I just don't see your access to it, to be honest with you, I really don't.
It's-
Because if you do it to the right, your parking spaces there, the cars are all there, residents are parking in there, they're gonna be parked off-street like we've been told. I just don't, with the 2 dumpsters that are required, in the screening of the dumpsters, and the parking spaces there, you know, because the only way you can get to park in the driveway is coming in the parking lot, right? There's no other way to get there.
I think what we're gonna have to do is get a letter from Waste Management, on exactly what they did mean.
Well, I think we have that.
Put it on a plan, yeah, we do.
Well, like I said, I
They're right
interpreted,
there.
I mean, we got that you need 2 dumpsters, because you need one for the commercial business alone, then you need, for your residential, is what the wastewater say, waste management, excuse me. So he's saying you need 2, and we know they have to be screened. Yeah, I get that one, yeah. All right, I have no further questions on that, I just don't see.
all right, I just wanted to say, get some definition on it.
I just don't think.
I'm not really sure what
The way
they
it's laid out, that the snow storage is accessible.
It sure is.
Sure, go ahead.
Hey,
We have 3 extra spaces in that parking lot, Mr. Chairman, so we could take that right out and just drive in there.
It's gonna be on the
Plow the snow.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I have no further questions. Any?
Mr. Chairman?
Sure, go
I
ahead.
have a couple of comments.
Sure, go ahead, Mr. Malovich.
I too like the architecture of the building, but one thing that concerns me, if I'm on Mammoth Road, how do I know what business is in that building? It's gonna, I don't know how signage is gonna screw up the design of that building from the street. And how would I know there's a business on the first floor anyway? Either on East Meadow Road or Mammoth Road, unless I knew it was there.
There's gotta be some signage somewhere.
Anybody answer that?
Would have to be signage of some kind. That'd be
Yeah,
up to
well, it
the,
doesn't
up
show
to,
any signage, or where the location of signage is. I don't think this whole plan was well conceived. I'm concerned about the size of the building, stuffed up on the corner. I just think this whole thing was poorly put together. That's my opinion.
Yeah, thank you. Any of the board members have any followers up? What's the wish of the board? So we have 2 matters we have to act on. We have to act on a site plan as well as a special permit.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, Mr. Boyle.
I wish we had heeded your wisdom last time. I don't think there would be a whole lot of value in continuing this. I don't feel any degree of confidence that we would see the degree of changes to this plan necessary if we were to grant a continuance for 2 meetings. I make a motion that we deny the special permit.
Can you just list what some of your concerns are? Because we're supposed to give reasonings when we make a decision one way or another.
I do not feel that granting a special permit for 4 residential units and 2 commercial units of this scale would be consistent with neighborhood character. I feel that the scale of the project would make the traffic impacts inconsistent with safety and good access and circulation. I don't feel that the entrance off the parking lot design is consistent with the values and goals of the city's zoning. I don't feel that the design which hides and disguises the commercial space as opposed to, as Mr. Frechette said, celebrating the commercial space is consistent with the values and goals of the zoning or the comprehensive master plan or the Pawtucketville neighborhood plan. And I feel that there are 101, we call them minutia, 101 technical concerns, ranging from the plowing issue that you just raised to the adequacy of the dumpsters that have not been sufficiently addressed despite multiple attempts. And for that reason, I don't feel that issuing a special permit for this project as it exists in front of us today meets the requirements for issuing a special permit under our zoning.
Thank you.
I would just add, Mr. Chairman, if Mr. Boyle, not mind, as part of the request for the special permit must provide a narrative to address the many factors, and from a technical standpoint, that was not submitted.
That was
So,
not submitted.
I mean, that's,
Inadequacy of submission.
so.
Okay, so you amended that to your motion, so we have a motion on the floor to deny the special permit.
I'll second the motion.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Chair votes along with the denial. So now we need a motion for the site plan. So there was a motion to deny the special permit, now we have to act on the site plan.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion to deny the site plan approval. I think there's a lot of confusion over the dumpsters and the snow storage, accessing the building for deliveries. I think there's some detail missing here, and that's critical to the operation of the site.
Okay, we have a motion to deny the site plan, as reason stated. Any discussion from the board or a second on that matter?
I'll second it.
Motion made and been seconded by Mr. Malovich. All in favor of denial of the site plan, say aye.
Aye.
And chair votes yes. So that matter has been denied as well. Good luck and thank you, everyone. So the site plan and the special permit are both denied. Thank you. Good night. Continue, Curtis.
Yeah.
We had to, we danced around
This
it.
could be I mean, we did, meeting after meeting, and they wouldn't revise it. He should, I think that designer who's got, that architect who's got, I think if that could have been on board for the
Chairman, make a motion for a 5-minute recess. You need 5? I think you got your 5.
Yeah, we need 5 minutes.
Yeah.
They don't take long.
Your house is newer than mine. The water meter that's been in for 70 years. Try to make house your son's strong. Very good, thank you. I look different as I've aged, but Scotty and Johnny O'Byrne and that old stuff. You know, back in the day. Well, with his hand in the, oh yeah, the 450 zone, that's a. They talk for a while. I can see one. That's probably about 6:30.
Yeah, it was in the memo.
Do you have the email?
Yeah, it was,
Well, check the email.
you want to continue to September 17th. You want to do,
No, September 17th, though, isn't that the?
is the one?
Yeah, then, yeah, so this,
There's two next month.
there's 2 next month,
That's not right.
September 17th.
See, last year they
Should be the 16th.
So we have one meeting right after another? 1 week after? Right?
No, because Labor Day is,
The 7th. That's a Monday. So then we meet the 10th, and then we meet the 17th? Well, that's what you said, he's requesting the 17th. No, no.
well, he probably means the 10th, the 24th.
You guys need a,
You have to clear it with him. Tell him we'll delay it till the 24th.
Yeah, good. That's a good idea. We can get pizzas away.
Okay, so, moving along on the agenda, the next matter will be 37 Walker Street. The Lowell Planning Board will hold a public hearing to hear all interested persons relative to an application by Paul R. Tremblay seeking a special permit for an addition to 2 residential units to the existing building located at the above address. The proposed addition will change the existing 2-family use to a 4-family use. The applicant is seeking a special permit under Section 12.1D of the city zoning ordinance. The parcel comprised of approximately 13,526 square feet of land and is located in the traditional multifamily zoning district. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Hello, my name is Paul Tremblay, and this is my wife, Karen, and we reside at 37 Walker Street. We've been there about 10, 12 years ourselves, and it's been in my wife's family for over 75 years. So we've decided to retire there, and I'd like to build take down the 2 existing garages that are there now and replace it with 2 units, an addition. And I do have excuse me, I didn't have all the photos. Can I bring these over here?
Sure. You moved the camper.
Yeah.
When I went up there, the camper was there. I drew it on my plan.
I have a picture of it if you'd like.
Okay,
I knew you'd want it, that's why I hit it.
I'm like, all right, I drew it when I went up there the other day. Okay, go ahead, sir. Yeah, it fits right in there.
And also, if you look at the big drawing, I addressed every single issue that you had. All your comments have been answered, and I took care of everything and redesigned the entire thing to your specifications. And if you look at the black, this one here that I provided with you, what I did is I labeled in yellow the numbers 1 through 8, which corresponds to the sheet of your comments. Make it a little easier so we don't get confused.
I'm sorry, sir, could you hold that plan up? Because I don't think I have, could you hold that plan you just had, this here?
This one, you don't have that?
I don't have that.
That one came today.
You don't have that
Come
one?
today?
I have an extra.
We get that one today.
The second page.
Oh, I didn't go home from my
Second
work,
page is
so.
it.
It was on the email, yeah.
Was it an email?
Yeah, late today.
Late today?
Yeah.
Jeez, I didn't
You
get it.
should have gotten I did leave a copy on everyone's.
Thank you.
Decided to color the green.
Okay, no, thank you. Thank you very much.
First thing it says you
2, right? 4. 2 here, 2.
here, you don't have sufficient for 4 years.
Yeah, what we're doing is, my wife and I are retiring, and we own the property, and we're gonna live on the bottom floor, and we'll be owner occupied, and I'll be taking care of the units myself to give me a little something to do in my retirement. And also, truthfully, we can use the extra income, you know? And there was, let me see, number 1, number 2, we moved that parking spot out of there and added all the green grass. And then shifted everything over, like you guys suggested. That's been done. Then number 3 is the entrances. If you look on that sheet, the existing building, I drew in the hallway and the porch. It does have a porch. Excuse me. And what it is a closed-in porch So when you open up the screen door onto the porch, then you open up the main entrance, and that brings you into the common hallway. So if you look up, there's the stairs to the second floor, and then you go right, and that goes into the first floor. So I copied that exact entrance into the new addition to keep everything symmetrical. And also I brought in the big windows, the octagon windows on the second floors and the first floor. And I kind of kept the building right to the property line where it's supposed to be to 10 feet. We made an extra foot of 11. And that keeps the building kind of streamlined. It's, most of its, the new addition will be hidden behind the existing building now. So as you're looking down the driveway, it's not going to stick out like a sore thumb. And it's going to be real nice. And then I completely surrounded the whole lot with all grass. And let's see, number 3, number 4. Oh, number 4 was the big, excuse me, the big hot top. I had a big area there of 18 feet, and the reason for it was so that I could push all the snow. But it was pointed out that I didn't need that much, and you were right. So we shrunk it down considerably to 12 feet. So that's been done. And number 5 was the runoff. I met with the city engineer. I left Swati immediately, went right upstairs to meet with them, and they both agreed with me that it'll all be graded so everything will run off the property into my backyard. So I drew the, if you look at this black and white one, I drew the arrows of which way everything will be flowing. And that also is reiterated by Bill Brox, who's doing my hot top. He came over and looked at it. He says he has no problem grading it to where we want it, because we have plenty of room there. So that's done. And number 6 is the only issue we have there is that 9 feet missing on that corner. We have to be 10 feet. So as you're looking at this corner up here, there's a little jog in the fence that used to be our property, but her aunt gave it to the neighbor next door. And so that fence post is 9 feet instead of 10. I would have to cut the building down a foot. And so I'm going to go to the zoning board next week and have them vote on that, and have them decide on it. I'm trying to get a variance on that 9 feet is what I'm saying with the zoning board
So
next
what
week.
you'll be looking for at the zoning board is relief for 1 foot from 10 to
Correct.
9? Okay.
Yes. And I've already spoken to Vanna and Mr. Tan, both of them that own that property, and they have absolutely no objections.
That's usually
And
helpful.
yeah, they're going to sign a paper for me, and their lawyers are writing it up now, and I'm going to bring it with me to the zoning board.
Excuse me, sir.
We get along pretty.
Excuse me, sir. You have submitted that application to the zoning board?
Yes.
Okay, did you also include a variance request for this lot area per dwelling unit shortage?
Yes, I'm 2,400 square feet, and 2,474 square feet short.
So you've applied for that?
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Sorry to interrupt, go ahead.
No, that's okay. And let's see, number 6, that was that. Oh, and then number 7 was my patio. I had a 10 by, I didn't realize you had to be 5 feet from the boundary line, otherwise I wouldn't have drawn it in. So I just put a 10 by 12, so we shrunk it down to a 6 by 12, leaving us 5 feet to the property line for the patio. And then I had a big deck over there also, a 6 by, and that's been taken out, and there'll be no deck. It'll just be a 4 by 4 landing with 4-foot stairs for our second egress. So that comes right into play with the boundary line. So I've addressed all of those. I mean, looking up and down the street and everything, I mean, it'll blend in beautifully, and I take very good care of my property. And if you've ever been by there in the snow time, my lot is huge because I take every bit of snow out and I put it way in the back. So this will work out really good. This way here, when the cars are parked here, I can still come in and make a pass all the way to the back, giving these people a chance to get everything out, and then we clean that up after. So it'll work out really nice.
The only thing I missed on the comments, but I didn't hear you address number one.
Number one, okay, is the reason for the fort is very simple. I don't think that a single unit would blend in very well, and I'd have an issue with my roof line because it's a hip roof on the other roof. And so by building the second unit, my roof line will come into the second, and I can blend it all in and put the proper valleys in so I don't have any issues with water and snow. Also, it's very economical to build your second floor when you're building your first floor because there's hardly anything to it. So it would save me a considerable amount of money to put 2 units instead of just one, and then another one somewhere else, if you follow what I'm saying. So it's very economical. And like I said, we're retired and on a fixed income, so the extra rental would really help us out. And that's the reason why I'm going for the fort. And also, there's two-story garages there, so I'm not really adding a huge difference in height, because it's all the same height. And the new addition will be quite lower, which will match more like the garages, because the old house has like 12-foot ceilings and all that. This will only have a traditional 8-foot ceilings, so it'll come out really nice. I've built quite a few places, and I drew all these and designed them all, and the floor plans being done by the architect from my drawings. And that's about it, I guess, unless you have any other questions.
Judy, can I just ask them a comment from staff? I know Swaze made these comments, but I know you got a copy on it in regards to that it's not sufficient for 4 units. I know Swaze wrote the report, but I'm just curious if I know she sent you a copy as well as us. I don't know if she discussed that with you, or what planning recommendation as regards to the 4th unit.
Yeah, I think her comment is with regard to the lot area per dwelling unit,
The lot area per dwelling, okay.
and that's what you're going for variance for.
Correct.
Correct? Yes.
Well,
And he's going for the variance for lot area per dwelling unit.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah, and it's not a considerable amount. I don't think I'm asking for an unreasonable variance. It's not like I'm asking for 10,000 square feet. I meet just about everything except for that 2,400. And, darn it, there was something I was going to say and I forgot. That's awful. Oh, well. Oh, and my green space is much larger than required. That's what I was going to say. So it's kind of like a balance. I'm short a few thousand square feet, a couple thousand square feet, but I've got more than enough green space. And then I filled in all around to make sure that there was green everywhere. So if you look at that other copy that I kind of penciled in, it kind of looks pretty good, you know? I think it does anyways. And where we're going to be living there, believe me, I'll be taking good care of it.
Okay, thank you, sir. Let me see if anybody in the public wants to weigh in, because this is a public hearing, okay? So anybody here this evening want to speak in regards to this project? Anybody want to speak in regards to Walker Street? Walker Street? Walker Street? Hearing none? Okay, okay, you have a right to speak, ma'am. Go right ahead. State your name and address for the record.
Speak.
You know, tell us why you think we should go along with your husband's request.
Well, I think we should, because it'll be nice.
That's a good answer.
Area, the next door neighbors, they have, I don't know, 5, what is, up, I think like 10 units. And the one on the other side has 3 legal units. So,
Actually, across the street, yeah, they have multiple units, right?
yeah, so the area warrants it, I think.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. I appreciate your input. Board members have any questions? Rich, anything?
No, I don't.
No? Dick?
Yeah, I came over and took a look at the site and looked at your proposal and your drawings. And even though it doesn't meet the dimensional requirements of the zoning, I don't think it would be, you know, out of keeping with the neighborhood as it exists, and I think it would fit in just fine, so I would have no objection to this. And of course, you'll have to see the zoning board for the variance as well.
Thank you, Dick.
I would concur.
You can go, okay. Jerry, any questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, as well, and, you know, like we all do, did a site visit and looking at the surrounding neighborhood and noticed, matter of fact, all the properties you mentioned as well, and I think in keeping, and I think truthfully, architecturally, what you're proposing here will be more pleasing than the way the garage is set in the back. That's odd with that shed roof.
You better believe it.
In the back, so from a visual standpoint, this is gonna look a lot better.
Yeah.
There's a question for you. I noticed in the rear of the building, you had it staked out.
Yes,
That-
I
is
wanted
that-
to show my neighbor where the 9 feet was.
Okay.
To the relative to the post.
So that was
The fence, yeah, they were both there, and
Just so you can.
they don't speak very good English, so it was easier for me to say, hold on a minute, and I went in the garage and banged it out, and I took the ruler and showed him.
Oh, good
Put
for
it
you.
right
Yeah.
on,
Yeah.
and then drew it in the 28 feet, and that's exactly where it's gonna be.
Yeah, no,
So
and
it was easier for them to understand that.
Sure, and I noticed the posting that's required on the front lawn too, compared to other postings we see, it seems like you went out of your way a little bit more to.
Oh, yeah,
kind of
yeah,
explain
I
it,
really
so.
did. You know, I don't pull any punches. You know, if you tell me to do this, that's what I do. When I build something, if I need a 2x10, I use 2x12s. That's just the way I am, you know. I've been building my whole life, so I know.
Okay, so I really don't have any
Mr. Boyle?
questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Are you proposing, I have a couple of questions. Are you proposing to plant any trees, and don't you think that would be a good idea?
Not really. I wasn't gonna put any trees in because there are a lot of upkeep and all the leaves fall and there's more stuff to pick up and I don't know where to put any trees. I mean, there's a whole row of trees in the back that blocks that huge complex behind us. And that's it, but the house aside of me is just very little backyard. And then it's the condos to the right of me. And they don't have any trees, and there's a garden there that they use, and that piece that her aunt gave them. But,
Hasn't been trees there for years.
yeah.
Very simple, no grass.
Okay. In terms of location, I was thinking at either end of your row of parking, one up by the street on that little island, and one after what you're calling F4 here in your 1,100 square foot area, sort of near that curve, near that radius. I was thinking those would be two excellent places for trees. I think trees are important. I think a couple of street trees, or at least a street tree and a driveway tree would be appropriate for, especially for an application that's seeking a variance. That's all I've got. This is a remarkably readable plan, by the way. Very-
Yeah.
Yes. I'm seeing, this is probably the most readable plan that's
I
been
was
submitted.
listening to that poor fellow in front of me, and looking at that plan, I go, oh, what a mess. And I says, boy, I hope they like mine. I try to keep it as simple as possible and
It's so
yet
clear.
right to the point and clear. Thank you, sir, I appreciate
Bob,
that.
any questions?
I think it's a well-laid-out plan. I don't have a problem with the additional 2 residential units. I did have a question on the setback on the side yard where the parking is. Is it 3 feet or 5 feet? Is it supposed to be?
Parking is usually 5 feet from the building, 3 feet from the lot line.
Okay, so he's 3 feet from the lot line.
3 feet from the lot line? Okay.
Three-
Yeah.
Right.
5 for commercial properties.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's why
that's why I had thrown in a 3-foot strip of grass. I didn't, see, there's all grass there now, so when I cut, I will be cutting with a machine, with a cutter machine, so that we don't rip that grass out, because that grass is indestructible. I never water it, never seed it, and it just keeps growing, and it's growing and growing.
And
It's
there were
amazing.
there were no drainage problems onto your other
None
neighbors'
whatsoever.
properties or anything?
None whatsoever. All of that on this side here that you're looking at is higher than the other person.
I'm thinking about going backwards, going to the rear of the lot.
Oh, no, because there's a huge area, I have a big area there, and it's got a 2-foot swale now, and it kind of blends in at a slight angle from both ends of the house and circles in the center of the land, if you know what I'm saying.
And the engineer looked at it now.
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Yep,
That's the only comments I have.
yep, not a problem.
Concerns.
In the flood of 1936, my cousin lived there, and the water came up from the river. They didn't get a drop of rain or water in their cellar.
Yeah, it's nice and bone dry, I have to admit.
It looks like more than 13,000 square feet down there.
Yes, I know what you're saying.
I mean, it's a nice lot of land. I mean, by looking at it, you'd think it's more than 13,000 square feet.
I know it is.
It's so long in the back.
I know,
When I
it
look at
does.
I
Yeah,
look at it and I go, how big is it? But
yeah. Especially when I came out with more green space than I needed, I says, oh, I'm gonna have a problem, but I didn't. That was awesome.
I mean, by looking at it, I mean,
And this print doesn't show it all either. The little one does though. The other one shows it. But my black one, I had to cut it down because the copy machine wouldn't make it as long.
I mean, but, you know, because you go up there and look at it. you
Yeah,
know,
because you can see the big area here.
I mean, because when you look at it, you know, you see that it really goes back and back
Yes,
and
it
back
does.
in the lot. And,
Yep.
I mean, now by looking at the plan, 185 feet you go back. Yeah, that's pretty far back. I mean, but the way your pictures are, it looks like the other unit would blend in with what you have there now.
Oh, yes.
What's the existing one?
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty consistent with the neighborhood, as you indicated, there's,
Yeah,
notes
and
I
when
have,
this-
that there was multi-families on one side, there was a bunch of them across the street. I think,
Yeah.
on the other side, I think it's a 2-family, but down in that neighborhood, it's pretty consistent with what you're requesting.
Yeah, beautiful.
I mean, and I gotta admit, your property is very well maintained, so it looked nice going up there looking at it. I mean,
Good.
and
Thank
like
you.
I say, looking back at it and keep looking and looking at it, I spent a little bit of time looking at it and
Oh,
trying
that's
to look at
good.
what everybody else in the neighborhood, and
Oh, yeah, good.
it's very well maintained.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
You're welcome, sir. I mean, it's, so I don't have a problem with the project myself.
No, I don't
So,
Excuse me.
Judy, I know on the advertisement it just said the site plan, but actually it's a special permit we're requesting, right?
Yeah.
Or is it both? It's just,
Says
on
site
the advertisement on the agenda, it says site plan review, but I think it's,
It's a special permit.
right, okay. it's not-
Special
okay.
permit, yeah.
So it's just a special permit they're requesting, right?
Yes, yes, not site plan.
Right, that's what I
Exactly.
thought, okay.
Mr. Chairman, I just have one
Sure.
question. Could I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wanted just a little clarity on number 2 and how you're addressing number 2. Are you proposing to push the parking spaces?
No, we already did.
Oh, you
That's
did,
been
okay.
shifted, because they were all the way to the sidewalk.
Oh, okay.
So
you
that's
did
what
shift-
that green space is, that area we added in. We took it out and we brought it over here. And that's why there's a half moon here, so that this car can back out very easily and go.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, sure. Okay, so what's the request of the board?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the special permit for 37 Walker Street application.
Motion's made, and do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Chair votes yes. The motion carries. Good luck, sir.
Thank
Wish
you
well.
very much, gentlemen.
Take care.
We'll do a good job, believe me.
You know what's good, when we approve these, we'll go up and look at them later, and hopefully they come out the way we requested it.
Oh, they will.
All right, thank you very much. We wish you well.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Thanks again.
Okay, moving along, we have a pre-application session for 7581 Rogers Street. The following individuals requested the planning board to provide a preliminary review of their proposed project on the above-listed address. This is not a public hearing. The planning board will render no decision related to a site plan review, nor guarantee any future decision, whether positive or negative, of any project that receives a pre-application review. The applicant proposes to construct a one-story commercial building that would feature a Family Dollar. The project includes the development of a 25-space parking lot. The applicant would need to seek site plan review approval under section 11.4 of the city zoning ordinance. The parcel is comprised of approximately 36,800 square feet of land and is located in the light industrial zoning district. May we hear from the applicant, please?
Yes.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and board members of the board. My name is Mackenzie Simpson of Hunt Real Estate Services. My position with them is Northeast Acquisitions Manager. With me here tonight is Jake Seaton, who is our construction manager, and also with us tonight is the one of the members of the selling parties. We're here tonight just because we want your opinions and comments before we submit a full application for the project. You're correct, the proposed project is located at 81 Rogers Street in Lowell, Massachusetts. What we're proposing is a single-story commercial building that's 8,320 square feet. As part of our full application, we will be requesting a special permit because part of the project, as you read, is in the light industrial zone. Part of the project is in the traditional mixed-use zone, which requires buildings, a special permit for any building over 5,000 square feet. But what we're proposing here is the tenant will be a Family Dollar. The entrance will come in off of, technically on the city records, it's called Crickhorse Street, but it's not actually a city street. It's a right-of-way where an old railroad used to be. There's manufacturing in the back that these three existing properties have been using to access. So right now, the owner, it's owned by the manufacturing building in the back. The car dealership uses this as the entrance, and what's currently on site is two masonry buildings, and it's a car wash right now. So all three of those entities use the entrance that's coming in off of Rogers Street, and we propose to use the same entrance. What we're proposing is 25 parking spaces. The ratio in traditional mixed use is 1 per 900 square feet of store, so it only requires 10. However, the tenant requires as a minimum 25 spaces. Parking will be in the front. We will be requesting a variance for the front setback. The front setback in the traditional mixed-use zone is 8 feet maximum. So we will be requesting a variance for that as well. There will be landscaping in the front, green space here, and then 8 parking spots on each side of the parking lot. And then the entrance will come in and face Rogers Street. There'll be additional parking on the side of the building, and then in the back of the building, that is where the delivery and exit door will be, and also the loading, and there's 2 dumpsters shown in the back there. So the truck will come in, pull down here, back in, and then pull out. In the back space here, is green space. Right now, as the site currently sits, it's 100% impervious. It's all paved over. We plan on demolishing the 2 buildings, installing a slab. It's a metal building prototype. And then in the back here, it will all be green space. And I heard earlier tonight a big thing is snow storage, and that's where stormwater snow will be stored in the back there. There'll be 2 signs, one overhead door, overhead of the entrance, and then one pylon sign. There's an existing pylon sign there now. Other than that, I kind of open it up for questions in case, that's really what we were trying to do tonight, is just introduce the project to you now to get as much feedback as we possibly can to then when we go to full civil engineering design, we have all your input and can incorporate it so we don't keep coming back and trying over and over again. So I open it up to questions or comments.
So, I mean, presently you have the old car wash there, then behind the car wash, I believe there was the bays, right, for the self-sprays?
Yeah, so right now the car wash is on the side, and then the bay is, and sorry, we couldn't get it color printed today, but the self-car wash spray is this building here. So both of those buildings will be
And then
taken
after you
down.
come out of the bays, there was like some vacuum areas, and all the rest in the back is vacant, correct?
Yep, exactly. And then,
Use that car wash, yep.
right, and then in the back here is the Bradford Rogers Inc., that's the big commercial truck.
So if your truck comes in the side, which way would your truck be coming from the highway, do you know?
So I'm not sure if this plan shows the truck coming in from the right direction, but now that, I mean, I know the area, you come in off of 495 and you get off here, and where you come through the big commercial area. So the truck's gonna be coming in this way, and then pulling in here, and then backing in, and then pulling out here. And here's the truck plan. So the truck, just so you're aware, is a WB67, and the truck comes once a week, and it comes out of Rome, New York. And so it'll be coming in off the highway here, pulling in, backing in, dropping off. Every delivery comes off of a pallet, so there's no loading dock. It's just lowers to the ground, and then the employees pallet the product into the store. And then it pulls out, and then heads back to the to 495. And that's, like I said, it comes once a week. Family Dollar is not like, your smaller convenience store where you have a Pepsi truck, Lay's truck, all different size trucks coming in and out throughout the day. It's one big truck a week, and it drops off the goods. If it comes more than once a week, that means, stuff's flying off the shelves, and everybody's happy with it.
Because we just approved 2 other Family Dollars, so we assume they're all gonna be coming basically the same.
Right,
Time and way.
and I did want to bring that up. So Jake and I, I'm born and raised in Maine, so I've been doing the Family Dollar development in Maine for the past 2 years. And a lot of my work now is being in Massachusetts, but I know that we had another one going on Nottingham Street. That's Paul and Doug. Those are our counterparts, and they handle a lot of Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And but that one received approval, and they're
Prior to
going.
that, we had the one on Gorham Street, yeah, which isn't
Right.
really not too far from this one either.
Right,
I mean,
and I'm not sure if the Gorham Street, I think that may be a Dollar General, not a Family Dollar. But those are the
I think it
two.
came in as one, and then they switched it over.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the ownership changed, I think, after we approved it, yeah.
But yeah, and
I think they were going with one, and they ended up, yeah.
Right.
We just approved the building, but I think it might have changed from, like you say, went from Family Dollar to Dollar General, might have been changed later, right? Okay.
What kind of enhancements are you gonna provide for pedestrian traffic?
Yeah, and just so you're all aware, we did have a meeting with staff earlier to address some of their concerns, and that was one of their comments, was to make sure that it's pedestrian friendly. So what we propose on all of our sites is ADA parking and accessibility. So I'm not sure if you can see it well on this plan, but there is a sidewalk that runs along Rogers Street over the bridge and down. And we show a crosswalk basically that runs right across our parking lot that's crossed out, and then onto the sidewalk in here. We will update plans that also show a crosswalk across the, it's a right-of-way, but it will be an easement. We need to secure an easement with the owner in the back. So there'll be a crosswalk across the entrance, and then a crosswalk into onto the store sidewalk, which is basically a 10-foot concrete sidewalk, 5 foot on the side. So there'll be a crosswalk across the street. They'll walk down the sidewalk that's on Rogers Street now, across the crosswalk in the parking lot to access the entry of the store.
Because when you pull in now, I mean, how big is the curb cut? I think it's pretty flat, isn't it?
It's flat and it's
Because
wide.
After that, you have, the curb goes up, and to the right of it goes down, but right in front is not much curbing at all, right?
Right, there's not any, I mean, it's a big, open, asphalt lot right now, and it's very hard to decipher where I don't think there is any curbing right now on this side whatsoever. So we will be installing curbing and making it much more clear. We will be getting permission from the owner to put in the entrance arrows as well, so it's very clear to pedestrians and vehicles that there's a right side of the road and a left side of the road, because right now there's there's nothing.
No, there's nothing there. I imagine you use some signage out front?
Right, so right now there is a pylon sign. We're just going to be, it's going to be kind of define the area a little bit better. So there will be curbing around here, and then in this curbing aisle there'll be it's the smallest sign that Family Dollar allows. It's a 30 square foot pylon sign. And all it is it's a red sign that just says Family
How high
Dollar.
would that be? I know they're
That-
usually not too high.
Yeah, I just have to check the sign code. We've done the sign code check, I don't know it off the top of my head.
Just a question too, when you're meeting with staff, because I know the last dollar store, we spent, I thought, more time than we should have on the look of the building. And so I would just implore that you work with DPD and take to heart the recommendations coming out of there, and as we look at the project. But obviously, we have final approval. But I know we had we spent more time on trying to get a proper look than we probably should have. But I just would just encourage you to do that.
And I mean, I'm on those conference calls every Tuesday morning with our company, so I know a little bit of the background, so I'm hoping that we can get those submitted with the package, exactly what it's going to look like, and already have them dressed up. We're thinking the front will definitely be dressed up, the side, and then maybe, depending on this, because I'm not sure if you've been to the site, there's a fence already. We're planning on putting a new fence there to try to screen the residential apartments here. But we'll submit them with the full application, and if there's any concerns, we can definitely address them.
Thank you.
With a landscaping plan as well.
Yeah, with a landscaping plan. So, and we didn't bring one tonight, because how it works really is we have a in-house site planner. He draws up the site plans. We show them to our client and tenant, and they take a look at them. And we also use these to do the preliminary meetings. And then once we are going to submit for full applications, that's when we have the full civil engineering drawings with landscape, stormwater plans, and all that. But I can say that right now it's all impervious surface. This will be green space. Every spot will be green space, except for there's 11,000 square feet will be new asphalt, and then in the back it will also be green space. So we will put shrubs, and I'll also submit some photos of some stores we've already done that show, the flower beds around the sign and at the front of the store.
Question, have you addressed the right-of-way issue? Is that who owns that,
Yeah.
and do you have
So
legal involved in that at this point?
Yes, so we've had legal involved on this for the past month. Basically, what we've discovered, we ordered title on the property, is it used to be owned by the Boston and Maine Corporation as a railroad. And then, basically, when they dissolved, that corporation pulled up the tracks. There was an 80-foot strip right-of-way that used to be the width of the rail right-of-way. So on each side is 40 feet. In 1995, I believe, the owner purchased the 40-foot strip abutting where our building is shown now. So that's why we're able to have 113 feet or 115 feet, because it was 70 feet before, and then they purchased the 40-foot strip. And that is all, the title deed, everything is okay to build upon, because you have to get Mass DOT to sign off on that. That's all been signed off on. So you are able to build, like if you look across the street, if you follow that 80-foot strip, you see that the condos have been built on that 40-foot strip across the street. So we have figured out we're allowed to build there. And then going to the ownership now, currently, Bradford Rogers, Inc., who is the owner of this manufacturing plant, owns the land and the strip that's under this. So right now, we're in the process of getting him to sign an easement that basically gives us the right of access, maintenance, and to install utilities and everything that we need there. So a construction easement and an access easement.
Is that the other 40 feet of the 80?
Yeah, so that's what, if you look on the site plan, the 40 feet right here is the remainder, and that's what's being used right now as the access road. And in order, it's always just been, hey, you know, this guy's using it and this guy's using it, but, you know, the bank and Family Dollar and everybody else says it's got to be papered. So, and we've done a number of easements on sites before, so I've already sent him the easement. That's in the process, and hopefully it'll be signed so we can submit it with our full site plan application.
Would you need any work on that easement for the traffic coming in and out, or?
Right now, it's really up to what we're required to do. It really depends, because there was talk at staff meeting, if you put all these improvements in and brought it up to city code, would the city accept it? They said, yeah, we don't know if we want to accept it or not. So it's just a matter of, we would install the curbing here. Depending on the Family Dollar looks at it, it needs to be the right grade, and it needs to be able to pass their warranty standard. I think our parking lot is a 2-year or 3-year warranty. I'm not sure. I know the building roof is 15, 20 years, but the asphalt, I think, is 2 to 5 years is the warranty. So if that is not up to their standard, then we may have to, you know, resurface it, replace that asphalt. But we will be putting in curbing here and landscaping in the front, and it really just depends on when they come to the site and see it, whether we're required to do it. And
The
what
way it
city
is now,
says.
it's not really defined. People just, if they cut in there, they just cut across the front of that.
Oh, yeah,
They
right.
don't really cut down where that,
Right now, people, I mean,
they cut through
people,
right through, right?
right, people can pull in here, people can pull in here, people can pull in anywhere
Coming
that there
down, they
isn't.
cut right through the thing instead of going to the other end.
Right now, I mean, it's from here to basically the building, it's just open asphalt.
Because when you first come in, on your right, what do you have, a used car dealership there?
Yep.
Right there, yeah.
Yep, and that's what.
And that probably generates more traffic than Bradford does in the rear.
Oh, right, and that's what, when I met with one of the owners at Bradford Rogers Inc., you know, he's unhappy that the Belvedere Motors person is parking in the right-of-way, so in the easement, it will say that there is no parking in this easement strip, because another thing to point out is, you know, the concern of backing out here, so we didn't want anybody parking in this street. And then with the truck moving, you don't want people parking in there either. So that's addressed in the easement to make sure that no one does it. And if it becomes an issue, or if the city foresees it being an issue, I'm sure that we'll be happy, or Bradford Rogers would be happy to put in some signs that say no parking on, you know, the side of the street.
The fire department as well was concerned about that right away.
Right. I mean, that's what, I mean, you have to have access for the fire department, and they included in the easement we will have to have is, you know, the city's utilities and departments, you know, fire departments, police department have right to use that for emergency situations.
Anybody else have any questions? or-
I've got a couple.
Sure.
Those 9 spaces along the side, that looks like you've got one big 9-space wide curb cut. Is that what I'm seeing?
Basically, so that's an issue that came up at the staff meeting. If it was a town road and the town had accepted it, there would be, you know, you could not back right into a town road. But because it is a private road and street, and you're allowed to back into it, but you are. This is, the solid line is the property line, and it's not the curbing. So people will be able to drive down the street and pull into the parking space, back out, and drive out.
Okay. Have you guys ever built one of these in an urban context like this?
Yeah.
You have?
Yeah, I mean, so just so some background is, our company is based in Tampa, so they build them in Tampa all the time, but we've done work in Connecticut, Rhode Island, Massachusetts. I've built them in urban areas in Maine and New Hampshire myself, so we've And that is the big push for Family Dollar right now, is to do more urban stores, because from what they found in their studies is, since the recession, people don't want to drive 20 miles out to the Walmarts to get your tinfoil, tissue paper, and cat food, when you have basically an 8,000 square foot convenience store that people can walk up to. So we're trying to locate them closer to the residential neighborhoods, merely for convenience for people that may be on the bus line that don't have cars to get out to the big Walmart supercenters.
Yeah, and along that same line of thinking, that's very consistent with the city's own goals in the master plan. We think, retail, family-oriented retail is something that we're seeking to have within easy walking distance in our pedestrian-oriented neighborhoods. In these dense multifamily neighborhoods, a business like this can be a real asset. People there will use it, and they'll appreciate it, and it could be a real positive. But also coming along with this urban context is there's some considerations in terms of promoting and encouraging and not damaging that pedestrian-oriented context. Was looking at the staff report here, the memo here. The proposed setback for the building is nearly 10 times further back than the requirement for the TMU district. Is there a maximum in the TMU? There is a maximum? How much? 8 feet. So the maximum allowable setback is 8 feet. Now, there's a reason for that. Most communities, they don't have maximum setbacks, they have minimum. Right. We have a maximum setback because pulling your building way back from the street, having a great big sea of asphalt in between our sidewalk where our residents are walking, and the entrance to the store, it's uninviting, it's unpleasant, it detracts from the pedestrian environment. They say the board should explore with the applicant the feasibility of bringing the building closer to the street in order to foster the pedestrian experience for pedestrians traveling in this corridor. I really want to see that. I think that being a good neighbor, more or less requires not putting a sea of asphalt parking as your plan in one of our residential neighborhoods. You've got the asset. You can make a strong claim here that what you're doing is good for the neighborhood by providing this retail opportunity, by redeveloping this lot. You've got a lot going for you here. If the building's set back in extreme violation of our zoning and in extreme violation of the principles that we have for our pedestrian-oriented neighborhoods, you'll lose a lot of that asset that you can come in here and claim. Really, really look at how close, see if you can set that building on the street.
Okay.
Okay?
No, I'll definitely take that into consideration, because it did get brought up in the staff meeting, and my only comment to that was just experience of dealing with our client in the past. Their big concern is what happens when you do pull the building up to the street is if you pull the building all the way up to the street, you lose the handicap accessible parking right in the front. And what happens is if you move the building all the way to the front, you do have the side parking here. Most of your parking will be in the back of the store. And what their concern has always been in their experience of running 8,000 stores is when you put a majority of the parking in the back behind the store and it's 9 p.m. at night and it's cold and slippery and icy, that people tend to fall a lot more, and also for the safety of their employees when they're out and customers handling stuff, and is a safety concern as far as theft, robbery, not being well lit, being back behind the store. So, I mean, they've done studies and surveys, and a lot of the employees feel a lot more comfortable having it out in the front, and the elderly and disabled people, especially in the harsh winters of the Northeast, if you can park right in the front and go right into the front rather than having it on the side and having to walk, across and up to the side. But we will take it into consideration, but that is in my experience, is what has always, Family Dollars, has always commented, well, it's difficult for our employees and our customers. So we will, I mean, we've heard it from the staff meeting, and we will definitely try to accommodate it, because we tried to design the plan as best we could to code, meeting all the setbacks, and that was one that we just, couldn't get around.
Where as you said, your client intends to make a big push to build urban stores.
Right.
More and more cities, especially truly urban communities, are becoming more and more aware of the importance of a good pedestrian environment.
Right.
And, if that really is their strategy for the next several years is to build in urban areas, they have to make their peace with the pedestrian.
Right.
With the urban pedestrian.
Right. No, and I agree, and that's why the crosswalks that we will design better on the future plan, so you guys can see clearly, is basically it's a 9 by 18 parking stall, so it's 18 feet. The aisle here is only 24 feet. A lot of our stores have 36 feet or larger, because what happens is, in a prototypical plan, this site is very long and skinny.
Yeah.
So we had constraints that way. But on a prototypical plan is a 200 by 200 lot. The truck comes in, pulls in here, backs up to the back of the store, and pulls out. But because this lot was long and skinny, and sometimes when we have a streetscaping, because we have dealt with that with other towns, is if you have enough room on the side, you can pull the building up here and then put your 2 rows of parking here, and then customers don't have to walk from the back all the way to the front of the building. So
Yeah.
we were also struggling with the constraints of the site, but definitely we'll take it into consideration, and I'll go back to them and see if we can, move it. I just can't guarantee right now at this time.
Especially in this case, we have those, that row of 9 spaces along the side. It's not like you're only talking about front and back. You do also have side as an opportunity, so
Right.
maybe that'll make it a little easier for you. But yeah, I'd love to see an urban Family Dollar store. That, I think it could be a real asset. What was the other question I had?
Excuse me.
Right. Yeah, you had mentioned, and we got into quite a bit, that in the Nottingham Street project, into materials and view sheds and everything. That was a situation in which there was a large view shed. There's all this open area around it, so it's going to be visible on multiple sides from a long way away, and so there was a lot more of that level of design consideration on that one. I think this is a different site, and it brings with it a different set of issues, and so I guess what I'm saying is that you've kind of got you're kind of coming from a business where pushing for a standard and being as close to the standard as possible is how you like to try to do things, and whereas where we're coming from is from the opinion that the unique context of each site in our neighborhoods is very important. And so the idea of standardization or the idea of let's do just what we did on Nottingham Street, I would recommend not thinking in those terms and thinking more in terms of this being, a unique special snowflake type of project.
No, I appreciate that comment too, because, I hope that the board doesn't view it as a cookie cutter store. Whenever I go before planning boards and listen to staff comments, I look at it as a developer and city coming together, meeting in the middle and making sure that, everybody's happy with the project, or as happy as they possibly can be. So the metal building is a prototype building, and the siding is prototype, but there are things we can do as far as landscaping, faux shutters and windows on the sides, depending on what the board sees fit for this design of this area. I do think that there was a good point that, and this goes, having the building tucked back does, another comment to that is you won't be able to see, the building looming, because I was hearing the other comments from the other meeting. The building will not be, large and obtrusive sitting on the corner if we are allowed to move it back. It will be tucked behind, these apartments if you're coming this way. And then also, there is a tree line here, so when you're coming this way, you won't see the building necessarily. You'll see, the green landscape with shrubs out in the front, and then the building set back.
That's more or less exactly the opposite of what I would want to hear. This is an urban context. We don't want to see the front of a parking lot landscaping and then a parking lot, and back behind there somewhere is a building. That's a suburban view of how to do good design, and it's pretty close to precisely the opposite of what I would consider to be a good urban, a good view of how to do good urban design.
Right. No, and I hear you.
Street,
All I
Wood-
meant
Wood was
was,
up on the
was you're not, like your comment was, you see the Nottingham one from all sides. This, it's a lot tighter, more urban. And like I said, I can't guarantee at this time that they'll go for the building up on the street, and I can't, you guys can't promise that you can or can't either. So what I can say is I can go back to them, try our best, and see if we can come to an agreement in the middle.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Anybody else? If not, good luck. We'll see you soon, probably.
Great. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good night. Okay, moving on to the agenda. We haven't continued the rezoning petition yet, but before we get to that, I think we have a discrepancy on, let's clarify what our meeting schedule is for next month, because they requested on the rezoning of West Adams Street that we continue to September 17th. I think Rich and Dick have both had their book with us, and I think...
Yeah, it's right here.
Yeah, what dates do we have scheduled there now? Is that...
On the print, it's September 3rd, Thursday, and Thursday, September 17th is on this printed schedule.
Because, yeah, because...
Okay, you want to see that?
Yeah, we want to... If we stick with that schedule, I think they're requesting that we continue West Adams Street to 9/17. So moving back, so the 3rd and the 17th, we can stick with those dates then? Those no problems with anybody, right?
Mr. Chairman, there was the 3rd, is that,
See,
the 3rd is,
See, the 1st is,
the 7th is the Monday, right?
right, so the 1st is the Tuesday.
I think the 7th is
Yeah, the 7th is Labor Day.
7th is Labor Day.
7th is Labor Day, so if we did the 3rd.
Rather now, as we have on the printout, we're scheduled to meet the 3rd and the 17th, so instead of going...
Thursday before the, okay.
Yeah.
Before the first of the
but-
month.
But we can change it any way we want now, because we haven't publicized anything about anything yet, right, Judy? So whatever's convenient for everybody. I think when they looked at it, they might have thought that the 1st might have been... But so we could either go the 10th and 24th, or we can leave it as the 3rd and the 17th.
Well, we got another one October 5th.
Yeah, which would be right after the 24th.
Right.
Anyone see any problem just leaving it where it is for now?
So is everybody okay with the 3rd and the 17th? I have no problems with it, doesn't matter to me.
I'm going to have an issue on the 17th. Yes, I will.
It's the 14th.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, can I just make a comment? I have been out of the office for the last week, and I know we've had quite a few applications have come in while I was away, so I'm not positive. I don't think we have advertised anything as of yet for any meeting, but I'm not sure. I can't be positive because I haven't been in the office.
Okay.
I'm good with the 3rd and 17th.
Okay.
Yeah, 3rd and 17th would work for me, too,
Okay.
Mr. Chairman.
Everything, okay, everybody's good for the 3rd and 17th? We'll leave it as planned?
I can't make the 17th.
Okay, so we just can't be here on the 17th, okay?
No.
All right, we'll deal with that, okay. So let's just back up then. So we had one of the public hearings tonight, we had a petition from West Adams Street. It's 21 West Adams Street. I believe we received in writing a request to have the matter continued to September 17th for a request for rezoning. So I'll make a motion that we continue the rezoning from West Adams Street to September 17th.
Second that, Mr. Chairman.
Motion is made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries, okay. So, moving along, anybody have any notices from any of the budding towns, or any updates from the boards they sit on? Anything?
Yeah, I have just a quick update from the historic board. We have, I spoke before about minimum maintenance standards in the downtown area where we'll actually send out letters, or Steve will go and visit with store owners, and they're required to paint their facades and just keep them up and presentable, and we have made some significant progress on that with people complying in downtown businesses. That is a good, healthy sign. And the second thing I just wanted to mention was, we're always talking about buildings on the historic board. We had a really interesting public hearing on our last meeting regarding the Broadway Street Bridge over the Pawtucket Canal. Technically it's a bridge over the Pawtucket Canal, but it's just a straight roadway. Right now, half of that bridge is, half of the street is shut down because they're working on it. And we got a presentation from the contractor who is going to rebuild the whole thing, that will take about a year. And the length that they're going to, both architecturally in terms of, railings and things to make it historically, pleasing. It's right next to the Francis Gatehouse. And to blend that all together, they're gonna put up some ornamental handrails. And we picked a color for the steel underneath some of the other bridges around town. Howe Bridge is below the Aiken Street. We chose a red color. And one of the most interesting aspects, we did issue an historic permit for this work, is the canal itself. They're actually going to take the granite blocks from each side of the canal and take them out. Document what's there and take them out, and then reconstruct the whole bridge, and then put everything back in place so that it all looks the same. Just so the integrity, the structural integrity of the canal itself will be maintained.
Rich, is that an L project?
Yes, it is. They were there, and their contractor was there. That's been in the news lately, of course, about the ownership of those. And there are others around town as well, but not all in historic districts or anything. But it was just an interesting project for us.
Did they have a target date to complete it? It's been like that for
About a year or something, I think, yeah.
It's been like that for
It's all got to be totally reconstructed. That's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Anybody else? I know you gave us a handout tonight, Judy, just briefly.
Yeah, briefly, the Complete Streets policy has been adopted by the City Council, and at this point, the City of Lowell is probably the largest community within Massachusetts, largest in terms of population, of course, that has adopted the policy, and there are funds that have been allocated by the Department of Transportation for communities to implement the Complete Streets policies. So we will be looking forward to taking advantage of that within the next year.
Anybody else have any updates? If not, we can entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Motion's made.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned. Good night. Thank you, everyone. That must have been interesting watching.